Well, good morning, my Teaser King family. How's everybody? Happy Valentine's Day. Hope you had a nice time. If you went out or just relaxed, you can do that also. Just a second. All right. So sorry about yesterday. We did. I had to leave a bit early for my Valentine's Day. But you got to do what you got to do. So today you got me as much as we want. All right. So yesterday we started talking about gold and silver and the effects of the Chinese New Year, where the Chinese market will be down for at least a week, I think. Now, I don't know if the PBOC, the Bank of China, will be running it. I'm sure somebody will be playing ball for China. Now, there was a video where some guy made $3 billion shorting the silver, which is what we've been running into, right? Where we wondered why it went down and why China has been knocking it down. And there was a whale in China who shorted it. He made $3 billion. This is the problem with COMEX and paper option bullshit. In a physical market, you can never do that, right? I mean, if you go to a grocery store, you can't short Canadian Club, right? Only no demand will drive a price down. And there's plenty of demand for gold and silver. So it really makes no sense. Some guy runs an option, shorts it, makes $3 billion. Now we understand the problem of COMEX. That's a bunch of bullshit. Should never happen. We'll have Mark McGwire on today. The dawn of the silver yuan. Well, we already know it's already backed by gold and silver, the yuan, or whatever they're going to call it. So we know that. Anyway, this has been the problem with COMEX since the inception. Anytime they want, they short a bunch of options and forces the price down. So it's not a free market where everything else is. It's totally illegal in America because we're founded on free markets. Excuse me, you know it's my lunchtime. I don't eat breakfast, so I start about 11. Anyway, this is the problem with COMEX. However, we take advantage of it because when they do this shit, we buy because we know it's not a free market. A free market is The first thing you do is there supply, is there demand for whatever you're selling, your product. Take avocados. How do we get a market price? They sell them at the grocery store. If they're $5, we don't buy them. At $1, we buy a lot of them. So that's how you develop a market and develop a price. That's free market. I put it out, nobody buys it, I lower the price. If I got the price low and everybody's buying, I can raise the price. But that's not what we got in gold and silver or coffee or anything else. Anything on COMEX is all price fixed. Why? So the banks can make money and do options. So gold and silver worked for years, since the mid-70s, because they would play amongst themselves. London would buy, the US would sell, the US would buy, then London would sell. But they never had physical. It was always paper contracts. So they'd make a lot of money. Well, I'll short if I know you're going to buy and you're going to buy, you're going to sell and I'm going to buy. So we know we don't need physical. It's all make believe. It's like Bitcoin. It's all make believe. So then what happens is BRICS enters because they're tired of being sanctioned and $3 billion of Russian assets. And they go, we're not playing this game anymore. So they start taking the metals. And that's why you're seeing the price go up based on demand. Sorry, Alistair McLeod. It's not because the price of the dollar is going down, because you can't even price the dollar. You have no idea the value of the dollar. So your whole thesis is just, ridiculous. So the demand so BRICS says, you know what, we're going to have gold-backed currency because we know that always works. Because you can't print gold and silver, it's got to work. So we go ahead, we buy the options, and COMEX get destroyed because they're not real anymore. And now people are asking for gold. They're asking for physical. I want physical on my option. So you're going to sell, I'm going to buy, but I don't want money, I want gold. And that's part of the rules of COMEX. If they ask for gold, you have to deliver the gold. The only problem is there just isn't that. There wasn't that much to begin with. And everything was paper, which is why the price kept going down. They don't want you in it because since it's run by the banks want you in the stock market, the Wall Street banks. They want you in stocks. Go buy your 401ks. That's what we want you to do. We want you in that. We don't want you in gold and silver. We have no idea if you have it. We can't tax it. We don't know anything about it. And, look, gold doesn't go anywhere anyway. Silver, it doesn't move. Why would you want to look at all the money you could make in Apple and Amazon, which is all fake because they just print a lot of money and put it into Apple and Amazon. Go, hey, look, it's gone up. It's up 500%. Even though the value of the company is worth $100 a share, it's $500 a share. Just buy it. It's going to go up. Anybody with a brain realizes that's all fantasy, right? That's Mickey Mouse. So this is the problem. So this is how you problem solve, right? I'm big on problem solving lately. And, because we run into situations that maybe doesn't make sense. We don't understand why was gold sitting at 1,800 for so long? Why didn't it get over 2,000? We problem solved it. We found out it was COMEX. And then I remember going to my barbecue restaurant and I said, buy gold and silver. He says, why now? I says, BRICS. Because BRICS is going to break this COMEX shit. Before it was just in the U.S. basically. And the U.S. would just do a lot of paper shorts and knock the price down. But it's not real because you've got to use the physical stuff, and there's not that much physical in gold as the paper gold. So if there's 200,000 tons of physical gold and 200,000 tons of paper gold, and they want to sell it and dump it, of course, the price is going to go down, which is price fixing, which is highly illegal. They can say what they want. It's illegal. There's no difference between that and fixing a football game. You're fixing something. You're not letting the market run it. Totally illegal. So if you don't understand it, you go, I'm not going to buy gold. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes up a little, goes down. So why would I buy it? If you problem solve it, you realize it's bullshit. There's shorting paper gold, which for some reason is attached to the physical price, which it shouldn't be. So the physical price goes down. You go, I don't want to buy this. I was talking to one guy at a pool years ago about gold, and he said, well, I bought it, but it went down. So I sold it. I lost some money on it. Well, he didn't know what he was doing. Did he buy physical? I don't know if he bought physical or options or paper or stock or ETFs. I don't know what he bought. I don't remember. And I said, well, physical, you can't lose in it. Right? And this is back years before I went to Alabama. So this had to be $1,800 gold at the time. And the guy, like an idiot, well, I bought it and it went down and I sold it. Why'd you sell it? Why'd you buy it? You know, people don't understand what they're doing because they haven't problem solved it or found the right person to answer the question. I'm the professor. I'm the right person to answer your questions on Austrian economics, which is the most critical thing. So why is because of this paper COMEX market, highly illegal, run by JP Morgan, and there's 8 billion banks. And Toronto Dominion, I think Deutsche Bank, HSBC, which is Hong Kong, and then Chase and JP Morgan and what is Bank of America and Citibank. Basically, I think I missed one, but maybe an Italian bank or something. So these guys are trying to set the price of gold. They kept it down because they want you in stocks. Why do they want you in stocks? Because they want you in money. They can keep track of you and they get commissions out of you. And most importantly, the government can tax you. That's why they want you not in gold and silver, but in that. As far as I'm concerned, is from what I've learned, there is no correlation between the dollar and gold. Okay, they say, well, when the dollar's inflated, like now, we know the dollar's worthless, so we're buying gold and silver. But there's no price mechanism that says, oh, the dollar's fallen. You have no idea. We do know what gold is doing. So when people like Alistair McLeod go, well, it's not gold going up, it's the dollar going down. How does he know? What's the value of the dollar now? As far as I'm concerned, it's zero. So it can't go any lower. It's not going negative. So if that's the case, gold can't be going up if the dollar's at zero. But I don't really know what the dollar's worth. Neither does he. So you don't know the dollar's going down. We know they printed 150 trillion of it because they printed for the petrodollar, where you had to exchange the Chinese yuan for dollars and go to Saudi Arabia and take the dollars to buy the oil. That used to be the petrodollar. Now it's gone. Now China goes right to Saudi Arabia and buys their oil. Russia doesn't need it. They've already got their oil. China goes to Russia for oil sometimes. They go to Venezuela. Well, I don't know if Venezuela has any really good oil. Russia and Iran trade now. So all those dollars are coming back. So you've printed too much. It's like you've made too much for dinner, right? Well, I made 5 cherry pies for dinner, and then, they eat one of them. Now I got 4 cherry pies left over. So they've got too much of that. Hi, Cart. How are you? How's India today? So if you don't understand what's going on, you think, well, I don't want to buy gold and silver. I don't even understand the difference between paper and physical, right? I'm not understanding that difference because I don't even know about it. All I know is the COMEX price. What's the gold and silver now in USA? Are they falling still or increasing? Well, we're not open on Saturday and Sunday. We'll open up Sunday night. So whatever it closed at Friday at 5 o'clock, here's what it still is. China gets it today, but China has the New Year's holiday for the week. I'm not sure if they're going to buy or if the Bank of China buys or somebody in China, I assume, is buying. So it was 50, 45 gold and 78 silver. That's what it was roughly on Friday, but it changes so often. So you don't know what the value of the dollar is. So how does Alistair McLeod think that we're stupid and say, well, it's the dollar going down, not gold going up? Give me the value of the dollar. You can't. You don't know what it is because they don't track the value of the dollar. What they do track is the dollar versus other currencies, and they're all zero, so you can't track that. What you can track is gold and silver because they actually give us a paper price of that. So you're dealing in a market of fantasy. It's Walt Disney here. We don't know what the real price of gold and silver are for physical. We don't know what the price of the dollar is. We have no idea. So for somebody to make a statement, it's not the dollar going down. It's not gold going up. It's the dollar going down. Are just pulling this shit out of their butts because they don't have a clue what they're talking about. Now, in an Austrian world that we live in, Austrian economics, it's based on market supply and demand. You have a product if somebody's willing to take it. And if they're not, you don't have a product. You can't sell electric cars, Tesla, if nobody wants it. They only sell them in China probably because they're so cheap there. And all the Chinese have been gutted by the Evergrande fiasco with their real estate. So you can only sell a product, goods or service, if you have a market for it, which means there must be demand to buy it. So in that sense, you're keeping the price down on gold and silver keeps the demand down because people are greedy by nature going, I'll invest because I want to make money. So you see these great gains in Bitcoin and these great gains in the stock market, which are total fantasy. You can judge the price of what a stock should be by looking at financial statements, an income statement, a cash flow from operations, and kind of get a grasp of, well, the company makes $1 million. They got 1 million shares outstanding. The company's worth $1. And if the company's selling for 50, you're overpaying. That's how you determine it's like a baseball card, right? You go on eBay and you see a Mickey Mantle for $60,000, then why would you pay 70 for it? You'd pay 60. That's what it's worth because somebody bought it. Even though in baseball cards, there's 100 different markets for a Joe Montana or a Jerry Rice rookie or the Mantle card or a Tom Brady card. There's always multiple markets because each market's independent, even though he paid 60 grand for the Mantle card. That's what it's worth. In that auction, that's what it's worth. Can you get less or more in another auction? Well, that's up to the market. Is there another buyer for 60? Now, the buyer will see that it's sold for 60. He'll give you 60. So you have that. So anyway, we're dealing in a lot of fantasies, right? We don't know the value of the dollar, but we know it's not much. We can go to the grocery store and we see it doesn't buy anything. So we know it's lost a lot of value. We don't really know the physical value of gold and silver because there isn't one. I was at the Toyota dealership, as I've told you this story, and the guy, one of the salesmen knows me, I'm the professor, and he comes up to me and we start talking about Bitcoin. I go, it's not real. Then he wants to sell me some junk silver, which I'm not interested. And he says, well, do you know what the all-time high physical price of silver is? And I go, there's never been one. This is all paper. People that think this is the all-time high when silver hit 120 are just laughing at themselves. That's an all-time paper high. That's not an all-time physical high. These COMEX prices of 5,080 gold is not a real physical price. It's a paper price. There is no physical price of gold, just like there's really no price of the dollar. What is this worth? We have no, there's a euro. We have no idea. It says 5, but it's really not worth 5. You can't, we don't know what things cost now. It's all a blur. You go, okay, if you're in Germany or France or Spain and you have this $5 euro, what do you buy with it? Not a lot. Not what you used to buy in the 1990s. You could probably buy breakfast, 2 eggs and bacon and toast. Now you might be able to get the side of bacon with the $5. And that's the problem. They've got you so mind fucked that you don't really, you don't know. Nobody knows. I don't know what the real price of gold and silver physical is or the value of these dollars. I'm pretty sure the value of the dollar is 0, but since most people don't know it, you can still go to the grocery store and buy it. Go buy fruits and veggies and milk and eggs, and it's all, who knows what they're charging you something, but the dollar is collapsed basically. You've got 150 trillion coming back from the petrodollar. How can you possibly have the value of the dollar? You can't. Oh, what it says 20 on it, or 50 or 100. That must be what it's worth. I mean, it's just a joke. It's what it's worth is it's what it will buy. But it's certainly, oh, you got a $20 bill, but can you buy what's $20? So anyway, let me read these. Kurt, what do you think that gold and silver increase or get down? You don't listen very well, Kurt. They're going up. Okay, they will go up. You just got to be patient. Please tell me, Professor. The grand teaser, hey, behold, how are you today? No football, but okay, that's all right. Well, Kurt, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm teaching you right now what's happening, right? Gold and silver have to go up in the physical world because they're not priced. And if gold's worth 5,000 in the paper world, it's worth 50,000 in the physical world because there's far less physical pieces of gold than there are paper contracts of gold. So just looking at supply demand, the supply is much less in physical gold and silver than it is in the paper world. Then you got banks pushing the price down because they want you in the stock market. They want to be able to tax you and all that. That's what they did with Bitcoin. They raised the price and then they can identify everybody. So it's a nice trap. You used to think it was private. It's not private. They know you own it. And therefore, when you sell it, you get a little 1099 tax, which you should never have gotten. So this is why we problem solve. By problem solving, we understand. By problem solving, we understand what's really happening. I've just laid it out for you. It's paper price, not a physical price. There's far less physical than paper. They want you in the stock market so they can tax you and get you out of gold. And then Trump can say, look at the economy, so good. Look at the stock market. It's at 50,000. What a bunch of bullshit that is. I mean, you can make it look like that. You can keep printing. I showed you yesterday the Super Bowl. They have phony rankings. The Nielsen ratings are phony. There was another company that did it that I showed you, and it was far less. So the viewers of the Super Bowl was down, which makes the league in trouble because they're playing all this fantasy bullshit. They're allowing gambling in. is it even real? I can't really imagine that football is real. Now, did Seattle actually win the game? Yeah. I think they played a real game. I think the Super Bowl, all right, the Jets beating Baltimore was fixed. The Raiders, Tampa was fixed. Um, those two for sure were fixed. The other ones, it's more like you can win the spread's 10, you can win by 9, but you can't win by 10. So the real team wins. And I don't think you can fake a lot of the hits and the plays. Some of the interceptions you can fake, and that Denver forward pass that they called backward because the defensive guy slapped it backwards. That's kind of how you fix it, right? The refs cheat blatantly. They call it a pass that was backwards where it wasn't. Just like in the Seattle Ram game, the pass was incomplete. You can't say it was a fumble recovered. It wasn't a fumble. It was an incomplete pass, even though it was a lateral. I mean, it was right on the line of scrimmage, but it wasn't definitely backwards. And it got knocked down, so it was an incompletion. An incompletion is an incompletion. So if nobody would have touched the ball in the end zone and all that guy was doing was picking it up to hand it to the ref, he didn't recover a fumble. Everybody knew it was an incompletion. That's how you fix a game, right? So they fixed it. So you can't trust the refs. Notice how they don't make the refs real employees and pay them $500,000 a year, so they're not tempted to fix the games. When fixes happen, it isn't the players. The players make too much money to fix a game. The refs, on the other hand, don't make any money. So those are the ones are very, very fixable. And we've had instances in the NBA where the refs have said, I fixed the game. The players are fixing the game in basketball where the guy fakes an injury, so he wins his little bet on under. I won't score 10 points, and then he fakes an injury and then doesn't, and is out. I mean, that's the stupid. Just play and don't score. Don't sit there and fake an injury. And then everybody finds out you faked it. Shotani's phony. He's gambling on baseball. They cover it up. Oh, it was my translator. He happens to have $50 million. What do you pay the guy? $20,000 a year, $30,000? But he can bet hundreds of thousands of dollars. But Shantoni, no problem. That's why I don't like Shantoni. He's a liar and he's a cheat. I don't value people like that. So it's all over the place, all this gambling on your own sport. Why? See, you're dealing with like the NFL with FanDuel or BetMGM or all that. So they're looking to grow their companies. And to grow their companies, they got to come up with these prop bets and all this other bullshit. So again, it's very weak. Now, I believe what happens for us, because we do teasers, we're kind of immune from the fixing, because the fix will be, I'm laying 7.5, just don't win by 7. But in our world, we're laying 1.5. So we still are fine, because I think they still try to win. It's just by how many, right? Just make sure the bookies win. And don't kid yourself, the mafia runs the NFL. I mean, don't be that naive. I mean, JP Morgan runs the government. He runs the NFL. I mean, Jamie Dimon's the biggest crook. He was in the Madoff thing, and nobody said boo to him. He's in the price fixing of gold and silver at Comex, and I'm sure he's in the NFL. What a guy. Fucking loser. So I believe that's where teasers help us, but you can see all this fixing going on. So you need to understand it. You need to problem solve it. What's going on here? You can't blindly just pick and can't blindly be in the stock market. Well, it goes up. Bitcoin, I'm in it because it goes up. Well, now what are you doing? It's down to 67. Then you've got football, where we know, and basketball. All right, perfect example. We got the All-Star game. I don't even know, are they playing an All-Star game? Is any of the All-Stars playing? It's an embarrassment. These All-Star games are embarrassments to the sport. So back in the 60s and 70s, you'd be able to see Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Bob Gibbs, Koufax, all these guys on the same field, which you couldn't do before because they didn't have ESPN and they didn't have everything. So it was the only time you could see them as an All-Star game. You could say, oh my God, look at it's Roberto Clemente, it's Willie Mays. Otherwise you never saw him because that was it. You'd listen on the radio. I remember listening on the radio when I was a kid, but there was no ESPN. So now there's too much. You can see all these players all the time. So the All-Star game loses its flavor because it was about seeing all these stars on the field, and they tried. I don't know what the hell's going on with these guys. I don't know what you can do. I know I was coaching my daughter's fast pitch team. Right, she's in 7th grade, 8th grade, and the girls, if they didn't make the All-Star team, would be crying. I could only choose 3, so I chose 3, and the 4th and 5th are like, "Well, I'm not on the All-Star team," and I'd be like, "Well, you're not there. I took the best 3. It's all I can do," and so they're upset they're not on it. Here you get to professional basketball or football. What a bunch of losers. I'm not going to play in it. I'm just going to sit, or they sit in the stands. They don't even want to play half the games, these NBA guys. I don't know how the league got to that. You never see Magic and Bird and Isaiah sit out. They love to play. They love to win. What you have now, I don't know what these guys are. They're not professionals. All right, they're just drug guys who are in it for the money. They sit out. They'd rather sit out. LeBron James, I'd rather sit out than play. I'm going to fuck off. I wouldn't play the guy. I'd say, you know what? Sit down. You're not playing. You sit down. I owe you your contract, but you're not going to see the floor because you don't want to play. I'm not going to play you. That's what I would do if I was a coach, right? And I got LeBron, and he takes a day. I'm gonna load management on Monday. Oh no, you load management, you'll never see the floor again. I don't care. I don't need you because you don't care about the game anyway. So why do I need to play you? You're a great talent, maybe, but I don't care. If you don't want to play, then go home, and I won't pay you. I'm only going to pay you when you play. So I don't get where they still get paid for load management. That's the first thing you do. Say no. If you don't play, you don't, and that's how the contract would be written. You get so much per game. So you want $10 million divided by 82. But this is how much you get per game. And if you don't play and you load management, you don't get your check. Then you won't see them do it anymore. All of a sudden they'll play. Now, will they have competitive juices to want to win? That's your key. I don't know. You don't really see it in football as much. I don't see Mahomes sitting out. I don't see Burrow sitting out. In fact, they play injured. Lamar did a little load management this year where he cried and, oh, my toe hurts, and he wouldn't play. I mean, Lamar's just a baby. This is football. You play. Right? They need you to play. Get your ass out there and play. But it would be the same thing. It's only you get paid for games played. Just like me going to work. I only get paid if I go to work. If I don't go to work, I don't get paid. And that's how it should be. So these all-star games really hurt the sport. These load management games are, well, you want to go to a game tonight? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. Are all the players playing? if the guy's not playing, then why do I want to go to a game and see the backups? I want to see the stars. It's like going to anything. You go to an opera or you go to a movie, you want to see the star. That's why you're going. So the stars sells the game. But when the stars don't try and sit out, you don't have a game anymore. Basketball's ratings are way down. Football can't even have an all-star game. Nobody wants to play. They sit there, and football sitting there doing flag football. Guys, you don't play flag football. You play tackle football. I remember watching all-star games in the 70s, and you'd see half the Steelers out there and half the Raiders out there, and a Baltimore Colt every once in a while, and a 49er and a Dallas guy, a Packer, and they'd be out there. They wanted to play and they wanted to win. What's happening? You can't even, in pro football, you can't even have a Pro Bowl of real all-stars play. What the fuck's going on? You had Prime Jr. in the Pro Bowl. Prime Jr. wasn't even a starter on his own team. What was that, a circus? Oh, it was flag football. Oh, so you're playing flag football in a professional football, tackle football league. Your all-star game is flag football, and you're not in trouble. You think that's okay? This commissioner should have been fired a long time ago. They're losing attendance. This stupid kickoff thing, this stupid moving the extra point back, this stupid review of everything, this stupid of basically these games in Germany and England and Brazil. Now you're going to have a game in Australia. And then out of the other side of your mouth, well, we're worried about the players' health. You're not worried about the players' health. Let's play on Thursday. Geez, we're making money. Do you think anybody's watching these Thursday games? Or is it the same Nielsen rating system that you're using that says everybody's watching Cleveland play Arizona on a Thursday night? You think anybody's watching that game? And I go, part of it is to get the bets. If it's on Thursday night, people will bet that game and prop bet it, versus if it's on Sunday, nobody would even watch the game or bet on it. You only bet the better teams, right? I'm going to bet, Philadelphia and Kansas City and Denver, but I'm not going to bet Cleveland and Arizona. I mean, who knows? It's too unreliable of what's going to happen. So that's what you have. You have a bunch of bullshit, but it's in money also, right? So we come full circle. The teams don't even try in the NBA. Why would you waste $5 to go to a game? So the whole league's phony. The playoffs are phony. The championship's phony. So how I'm sure wrestling's way down. So in wrestling, you'd watch Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, and you knew that it was fixed, the outcome, but you still enjoyed seeing the stars, right? And that's what you did earlier. You saw Mantle, you saw Mays, you saw these guys. And that's what you wanted to see. Oh, that's Clemente. Oh, I never seen him play before. And now it's all ruined. There's no stars in baseball. There's no stars in basketball. Football, you have a few, Mahomes, Burrow. It's basically, I love hearing on the radio, oh, the best defensive teams are winning the Super Bowl. That's never changed. Go back into the 60s. Green Bay won with the great defense. They had, I think, 7 Hall of Famers on their defense. And like 3 of their secondary and 2 Nitsky and and the other linebacker, Dave Robinson and Willie Davis, and then Horning and Bart Starr, and but so they were loaded. They won with defense. Miami won with defense. Even the Jets won with a good defense, even though it was fixed. And then you got to the Steelers, and even the Niners won when they had a good defense, and the 84, 85, 86 Bears and Lawrence Taylor and Dallas with their defense. They won with their defense. With Troy Aikman sucked. So you have all that. So why are they so surprised that defense wins? Defense has always won. Offensive never won. Dan Faust, Dan Marino with the great offense never won because they didn't have defense. They'd run it down their throats, and then they put pressure on the quarterbacks, and that was the game. You watch the Niners in Miami. That's the 84 Super Bowl, Montana against Marino. What did they do? They put a lot of pressure on Marino. He couldn't run. They had no defense. Montana eat them alive, and that's why they never win. So you problem solve everything. We problem solve defense. And so there's a little bit more, and you got the gambling. You don't really bet on baseball, and you certainly can't bet on basketball. It's so atrocious that it's not worth it. So that's what you have with it. So there's no stars. Who's the stars in basketball? Who's this Luca Brasi from The Godfather? Or who's Joker from Batman? These are, I don't even know. I love when they use it's ABC. Who the fuck is ABC? Nobody knows who ABC is. Nobody's following basketball. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. It's not real. It's scripted. It's mostly fixed. The referees are not honest in the game. You want me to, like I say, the All-Star game's on. If I watched it, I wouldn't know any players. I have no idea. I don't follow it. It's not worth my time to watch a fixed event. So I'm not even watching it. The ratings will be 0 because who the hell is watching it now? LeBron doesn't even want to play. He's a little baby. Oh, I'm going to sit out, but I still get paid. So redo the contracts. Sorry, only if you play. And you're getting 1-year contract. You don't like it, go fuck off. I own your property. You work for me. So that's how I would do it. This Tarek Skubal guy in the Tigers, back-to-back Cy Youngs is a joke. He's not a good pitcher. He's the best terrible pitcher of the league. It's like the U.S. dollar is the best dollar of a bunch of terrible dollars. It's the cleanest dirty shirt in the hamper. They're all dirty. But Skubal, who did he beat? Anybody good? Is there anybody good in the game besides Paul Skenes? I don't think so. So there's a very big lack of pitching, of stars. When your best player is Shotane, who basically cheats, who bets on the game, why the pitchers don't beam him, I don't know. He's playing me. First ball is going at his head. Second ball is going at his head. Third ball is going at his head. I'm not intentionally walking him by saying, take the walk. I'm intentionally walking him by throwing at his head. Then he won't be so smug. There was a YouTube on Greg Maddux hitting Jose Canseco on purpose. That's what I'm talking about. So baseball is just gone. I mean, it's terrible. Anyway, we really don't bet it. So again, you have no stars. You don't have a Mantle to watch. That's why baseball was so good. You had Ruth, you had DiMaggio, you had Gehrig, then you had Mickey, then you had Derek Jeter, and it was all on New York, and that's why baseball was so good. Most of the other teams didn't have any players. The Yankees had Mantle and Berra and all these stars. And the Tigers would have L.K. Line, and that was it. And, a bunch of scrubs, Freehand, Stanley, Northrup. I mean, Norm Cash. I mean, they had McLean and Mickey Lolich, two good pitchers. That was it. But you don't have the star now. There's nobody I'm going to watch. I do not want to watch Shotani. I watched them in the World Series. It was the first World Series I watched probably in 10 years just to see what the hell was going on. And I like Toronto's had a lot better players than Shotani on it. Bichette and the other guy were much better. Shotani just golfs at the ball. Just don't pitch it in the ground and he won't hit home runs. Pitch the ball up about his head. If you walk him, who gives a shit? But that's the problem. So now I'm looking at the Tigers get these two free agents. They get Framber Valdez, 13 and 11 with a 4 ERA, I think, for Houston. He's 33 years old. Everybody's all excited. Oh, now we're going to win. We got Framber Valdez. He's not any good. He's in his mid-30s. Then you got Justin Verlander, who's 43. Everybody bitches about Aaron Rodgers playing now because he's 42. He's too old. But Justin Verlander, he was terrible the last 2 years. 2 years ago, he had a 5 ERA. Last year, he had a 3.8. But he sucked, basically. I remember when we would make our picks, right? And we look at the pitchers. And he went like 0-11 for the Giants. And then he won a few games. He got a little better, but again, it was against weak teams. And you're picking this guy up, 43 years old. I'll bet he won't pitch in 10 games. He'll get hurt because he's 43. So they make it sound like, oh, now we're going to win the Worlds. I was listening to a guy yesterday, almost drove off the road. Now the Tigers, they have the best pitching in the league. And I'm like, now Philadelphia probably does. What are you talking about? How can they have the best pitching? They don't have a good pitcher. Skubal, well, it's the 6th inning. I got to come out. Okay. So again, if I'm managing the Tigers, and I do a hell of a lot better job than this idiot doing it now, I'd be, Skubal, you're not pitching. Maybe I put him in the bullpen where he only has to pitch an inning or two because I can't count on him to go more than 6 or go more than 90 pitches. You know what? I'm looking for professionals out here. You're a professional baseball player. You won't go more than 6 innings, go fuck off. You're not winning with the team you have. You have no hitting. You have a weak rotation. You've added a 33-year-old Framber Valdez who was 13-11 with a 3.84 ERA. And you added a 43-year-old Justin Verlander he's been toast the last 2 or 3 years. Often injured. Played on the Mets, did nothing. Then went to San Francisco, 2 years, did nothing. But we've added him. You added a 43-year-old pitcher who will be lucky to pitch in 10, start in 10 games and last 5 innings. And you're making it sound like he's Justin Verlander from 2006. Well, he's not. I didn't realize I was looking at the stats yesterday. He only played 5 years for the Tigers, and he played 6 years for Houston. It's hilarious. The Tigers let him go after 5 years. And this is the problem. So it's Verlander. He's a familiar name, but he's not the same pitcher. You're not getting anything out of either of those two pitchers. And Skubal, I'm sorry. If you don't want to be here, bye-bye. Go. You're not playing. And I'm not paying you. Yeah, we have a contract. I'm voiding it. People get voided out. I lose my job. It's Monday afternoon. I'll see you later. All right, I didn't have a contract, but I kind of did. It was a contract position. But, okay, Skubal, I guess I have to pay you $30 million. I'm not playing you. No, you don't want to be here. I'm not playing. I don't want to get you hurt. I want to trade you. And that's what they should do is trade them for Scanes at Pittsburgh. And you're going to have to eat Skubal's contract. That'd be the only way you'd look. I'll pay you $20 million. of the 32 for next year, I want Scanes. That would be it, or one of these other Philly pitchers. Ranger Suarez. Now that would have been a good transaction, not Framber Valdez. A 33-year-old pitcher with a upper 3.4 ERA, 13-11, and you're excited about it. Okay. But this is the problem. So Skubal, he wouldn't see the mound. I'm not going to celebrate the guy who doesn't want to be there. It's the girl that you're trying to date, the girl who doesn't want to go out with you. Fuck you then, and then we won't go out. I'm not going to, I ask you out, you say no, and then finally you'll go out with me. Well, fuck it. You don't want to go out with me. Why would I go out with you? I don't want to spend time with people who don't want to spend time with me. So if Scuba doesn't want to play, take your ball and go home. I don't need you. I don't need somebody who's a quitter who plays 6 innings and takes his ball and goes home. That was a playoff game to advance, and you quit. You played 6 innings, took your ball, and went home. I don't want you. I need Joe Montana. I need Tom Brady. You think Tom Brady or Montana late in the fourth quarter? I've thrown him too many passes. I got to quit. What? Yeah, no, sorry, coach. I gotta, Mahomes. I gotta leave. Burrow. I gotta leave. I threw 30 passes. I gotta go. They want to win. Obviously, Scooble doesn't want to win. Why do you want him on your team? I want winners on my team. That's why you win. That's how the Eagles beat KC. They wanted to win. Despite having Hurts, it was the defense that won the game for them in the Super Bowl, just like it was the defense and Kenneth Walker who run it for Seattle. And everybody's going about Darnold. Oh, they won with Darnold. They didn't win with Darnold. They won with Kenneth Walker and this great defense. That's who won the game. Just like Philadelphia, they didn't win because of Hurts. They ran with Saquon Barkley and that killer defense. That's how you beat Mahomes. You didn't beat him because of Hurts. So, I mean, it's just funny how they give the wrong credit to the wrong people. But Seattle needs to sign Walker. But the Tigers with Scoobo, you don't want to be here. Goodbye. Lamar, you don't want to play. You're getting paid per game now. You got these fake injuries. Fuck off. LeBron, you want to load management. You're not getting paid. Then you'll see the end of load management. Restructure the contract to when you play, you get paid. And if you sit out a game, to just sit there and load management because you need to rest because, it's such an exhausting 48 minutes of basketball, of which maybe you're playing 45. And if you're not in shape, and if it's too much for you, then maybe you should go to the grocery store and work. I say that a lot because I worked at a grocery store, and it was very tiring work. So, I mean, this is the problem. You're paying these players too much, but you're paying players who don't want to be there, who have no passion for the game, who don't want to win. This is the problem. You saw Isaiah Thomas, man. He'd go right after Larry Bird or Magic Johnson or whatever. I mean, he wanted to win. Bill Laimbeer. These were winners, right? Magic, Bird, Worthy, Kareem. All these guys were winners. Larry Bird was a winner. He never needed load management. Why does LeBron need load management? I got to sit out today. Huh? If you don't want to play, go home. I wouldn't even entertain them. These guys don't, why are you paying them so much? The owners are the idiots. But if you're going to pay them, you have a contract. So Scuba is going to be 32 years old after this year. He wants a 10-year contract. Tell him and his agent to go fuck off. I'm going to pay you till you're 42. In a year or two, you won't be worth anything. You're only the Cy Young winner because there's no other pitcher in the American League that's any good. Skangs is the National League. I don't even know. I don't even know who won in the other. I don't even know who was runner up because there aren't any good pitchers in the American League. I don't know. The Yankees, they don't have any. Well, they got that one guy, Max. I can't remember his last name. Boston, really no good pitcher. Toronto, I didn't see a star pitcher. So you're dealing with a lot of nobody baseball players. That's baseball's problem. They're all going to basketball where they can make a lot more money and apparently just sit out. And nobody seems to care. So this is your problem. And the solution is I wouldn't pay him. Like I said, LeBron, you want to sit out, you're not getting paid. I don't know. Say if you love to play, you love to play. I love to play golf. I don't get paid for it. I do all this research here. I don't get, I get paid for football. I'm doing all this economic. I do it because I love it. I don't do it because I get paid for it. It's just ridiculous what's happening. Chauncey, good morning. But that's it. All right, let's watch. All right, we'll watch a little Mark McGwire. I was watching something on the Seahawks. California is taxing them for the whole year, which to me is totally illegal. I can tax you if you work in my state, but Seattle doesn't play in California except the Rams one game, the Niners one game, and the Super Bowl. But they want to tax these guys for the whole year and at a really high rate. So a lot of these players are getting this high tax bill from the state of California. I would not play in California, so I would not have another Super Bowl there. I would say, look, we're going to play the Rams and the Niners on a neutral field in Vegas or Arizona or somewhere. We'll play in Montana or at Boise on the blue turf. We're not playing in California anymore. That's ridiculous. You can't do it. It's totally illegal. Yeah, you can do the law, but the law is not legal. You can't tax me for playing games in St. Louis and Philadelphia and Seattle if I don't live in Frisco or California or live there. So all of a sudden, the state of California wants to tax the players this excise tax or other tax for playing in California, for working in California. It's ridiculous. So I was noticing that. All right, let's watch Johan. That's an old one. Let's watch Mark McGwire. How about that? I know there was another. So I put inflation in my title because it's apparent we're the only ones that really understand what inflation is, us and Egon. So here's John Stossel. Bad government brings bad inflation.
Watch this freezer test to see if your olive oil is fake.
Number 3, canola oil, if you can find.
Costs are going up everywhere, from the grocery store to the gas station.
Up 7% this year, the worst inflation in 40 years. Americans are upset about it.
Inflation has eclipsed the coronavirus as their number one concern.
Used to buy bacon for $2.40 a pound. It spiked up to $6.
As inflation rose, government experts told us, don't worry, it's transitory.
I don't anticipate that inflation is going to be a problem.
In the end, it will be transitory.
Now they say,
I'm ready to retire the word transitory.
so what went wrong? Some politicians blame greedy corporations.
This is about price gouging.
Corporate greed.
Corporate greed.
Greed is constant.
Economist David Henderson studies inflation.
If it's greed, how do we explain when prices fall? Do oil companies just suddenly decide, I'm going to be less greedy?
That's why the price gouging claim is silly. Prices change because of supply and demand. Inflation results
From too much money chasing too few goods. So if government's spending more money, that's more money chasing too few goods. The motion is adopted.
government is spending more money.
$1.9 trillion COVID relief bill.
But because government has no money of its own, extra spending means politicians must borrow more, tax more, or create money out of thin air by printing it.
If a counterfeiter prints money and spends it, everyone understands what's wrong with that. Well, the Federal Reserve essentially is doing the same thing.
In the last few years, the Fed has printed more money than ever in history. That makes the money we have less valuable. So not only do I need more of these to buy something, but also people who save money lose what they've saved. At today's inflation rate, $10,000 in a savings account will, in just 20 years, be worth only $2,300. If you were counting on that money for retirement, you're screwed. And yet today's politicians on both sides.
So that's the point I keep hammering home to you. They print money. That's inflation, is printing the money, not prices. It's money printing, which makes the dollars less valuable. But we really don't know what that means. In other words, you got a $20 bill, you still think it's $20. I give my friends, I give Jenna $50. She's excited, even though it's really not worth 50. But we don't really know the true value. And I touched on that before. John C. LeBron doesn't play all the time, and he shouldn't get paid to sit on his ass. A lot of stuff should be illegal, but it is legal. Well, no, that's not illegal. That's a bad contract. The contract should stay, we pay you for games you play in. If you don't play, you're not going to get paid. And then we'll see LeBron play every game, because it's not fair to the fan who's paying $500 to watch the game because he wants to see LeBron, and LeBron's in street clothes. He just got fucked. That's what you want. So you go to a restaurant and you get burnt steak and they won't do anything about it. You're going to go back to that restaurant? I don't think so. Oh, well. So inflation is money being printed. It's not prices going up. It takes more dollars to buy something, but you really don't know what the price is. So if they're charging you $20 for New York Strip, that's based on supply demand. That's not based on inflation. People are getting confused. Mostly Alistair McLeod and his boys are confused. They think it's because the dollar dropped that the steak's $20. The steak's $20 because that's what the demand is. The fact that the dollar, you need more dollars to buy it, is the inflation, but not that the steak went up in like gold. He keeps missing gold. Gold is 5,000 because of demand, because of the market, not because the dollar is worth less and less. Because let's ask Alistair, how do you conclude that the dollar dropped? You have no fucking idea. So stop spreading lies. You are not correct. You do not know the value of the dollar cannot drop because it's not worth anything. So how come gold's going up? Or even better, when gold went from 5,000 to 4,900, did the dollar get stronger? It's impossible. They printed 150 trillion of it. So inflation is the fact they're printing the money because they don't have the expense. As they said, they got to either do bonds, taxes, or printing money. Most of the time, nobody wants to buy the U.S. bonds. China, Japan did, but that was only because they would sell us goods and services. So we'd buy all their cars and tennis rackets and golf clubs. And with that money, they bought treasuries. And now with these tariffs, they're not selling us anything. And, there's they've got all this money that are in treasury bills that they're concerned they won't get paid. When they do get paid, it'll be worthless because the dollar has no value. So I'd rather get the money now and buy gold with it while I still can, while there's still gold available at this cheap price of 5,000 or silver at 80 versus I'd rather do that versus holding on to the dollar. So the treasuries nobody wants. You can't tax. So that leaves you with printing money, which is inflation. Money printing is the inflation. The value of the dollars drop. Well, I'm telling you now, the inflation rate is much more than 3% because you can't measure it. It's thousands of percent. And then it's also so they try to tell you inflation is 3%. It's thousands of percent because you got to go back to 71 and which product are you going to pick? Oh, I'll pick gold. Well, it was 35. It's now 5,000. Okay. So inflation's, 5,000%. Well, let's do silver. It was $2. Now it's $80. Well, that's another 10,000%. That's the real inflation rate, but it's the money printing. You printed more money, makes the money worth less. So as John Stossel was saying, the value of my money went down, but we don't know exactly what. We just know it takes more dollars to buy a Coke and an ice cream than it did in 1970s. So the dollar is worth less. You buy gold and silver because you can Rumpelstiltskin it, get out of the dollar, buy gold and silver, and watch the value of that go up. It's not going to go down. This can never go down in value because this is physical. All the games they play on COMEX with the paper, this is physical. We need a physical price. We don't have one. So you got to understand that. But that's why you get out of your dollar because it's not worth anything. And again, if you notice conveniently, there's no price of it. Well, it says 100, so it's worth $100, even though the $100 won't buy you crap. But again, when gold's 5,000 or a steak's $20, that's the market dictating the price, not the fact the dollar's worth less. And it takes more dollars to buy that. Look at all the hair I'm getting. I'm so excited. Okay. It's the money. Because the money is printed, but we don't know the value. So they put $20 on a New York strip. Well, either it sells or it doesn't. That's where the market and that's where demand go into it. If there's no demand for a $20 steak, it's on sale like it was I think it was the Super Bowl or whatever. The New York strips were $10 a pound because nobody's buying them at 20. So it takes more dollars to buy an item is true, but to get to that point, the $20, the $5,000 goal, to get to that is based from the market supply and demand because nobody knows the value of the dollar. Just because it says 100 on it doesn't mean jack. All right. Take you have a good day on Valentine's Day. Any nice dinner? We didn't go to dinner. Long story. I'm not going to get into here. I think we're going to go to dinner Monday or Tuesday or something.
Want to spend more.
$738 billion in defense funding.
If we pass the other two things I'm trying to get done, we will in fact reduce inflation. Reduce inflation. Reduce inflation.
Biden's wrong. There's no economic theory that says when the government spends a huge amount more money, prices fall.
But people are worried, and many want government to do something.
If that leads us to price controls, it will be horrible.
Price controls have been tried before.
A freeze on all prices.
Seems like a simple solution. It's just intuitive to people. Yeah, inflation? Okay. Pass a law. Put a lid on prices.
It is intuitive, and that's where people's intuition goes wrong.
Because prices are not just money, they're information.
Prices are signals. People see prices as these artificial things. We economists see prices as things that guide people both as buyers and producers. And if you mess that up, you've really messed up the economy.
Price changes tell buyers what to avoid and sellers what to produce. When the price of face masks rose 2 years ago, that inspired producers to make more. When fewer people flew, it led to a cheap price bonanza. Flexible pricing gets suppliers to produce what people really need.
You think we have shortages now? Wait till we get price controls.
When President Nixon
Okay. Also, that's not inflation. This is where I really struggle keeping it together. Prices are not inflation. It's printing the money and making this 5 not worth anything, right? It still says 5, but because you printed so many, it can't buy jack shit. It can't buy you a cup of coffee, a stick of gum. Everything's probably more than $5. I go to the grocery store, half the items I buy are $5. So you can't sit there. You don't know the value of your dollars, but it's not prices going up. That is the inflation. Oh, Coke went from $3 to $4. That's inflation. No, it's not. That's the market reacting where Coke's trying to put a price increase on, but the market says, no, I'm not going to pay for it. And so you go in and it's 2 for $5 because they can't sell it at the $3 price. And that's really what the problem is. So these price increases at the grocery store, I laugh at. I go, oh, I'll just go to another store, or I'll substitute out from Oreos to Meyer brand chocolate chip cookies or whatever. But the inflation is only the money printing. And then the value of the dollar drops, which they never tell you. And they try to give you this bullshit 2 or 3%, and that's bullshit. That is not real. There's no 2%, 3% inflation. Does not exist. It's not possible. Like I say, in the 70s, a car was $2,500. It's now $45,000, $50,000. Is that 3%? And why did they go back year over year? Who says that's a good measure? The Keynesians? It's not. That doesn't measure jack shit. It's not year over year. It's go back to when the money in 1972 was worth whatever, and then go when it was backed by gold, and then go back now. And you just can see that it bought you $35 bought an ounce of gold. It's now 5,000. How is that 3% inflation? That's thousands of percent, because every 35 is 100%. 35 to 70 is 100%. To 105 is 200%. That's 200% right there. And I got to do it all the way up to 5,000. So don't tell me inflation is 3%. You can say it, but we know it's bullshit. And that's the point. And that's why you jump into this, because this is the good guy. This is what went up. So if this was gold, it was 35 is now 5,000. This was $2 is now, let's call it 80. And it's still not even close to where it should be. So how is that 3%? But notice how this goes up in value. So what Alligator's trying to say is, well, they printed money and the gold and silver are higher, but how you reach the 80 is the market, or how you reach 5,000 gold is the market. But even that market's broken because it's paper market, which has far more ounces of paper, gold, and silver than are the real physical ounces. There's 200,000 ounces of gold on COMEX. It's a lot more than 200,000 ounces being traded. How the fuck can that happen? Well, we're just printing options, and it's all bullshit. We don't know what the value of gold is. It's much, much higher. And we don't know what the value of the dollar is. They're just chasing their tail to try to give you a value of the dollar. Well, it says 10 on it, so it's worth 10. if you would rechange the dollar value, like on $100 bill, if you were to rechange it, it would say $1. On a dollar, it would say 0.001. On a 5, it would, same thing. On a 10, it would be 0.01 or something. None of the dollars are really what the number is on them are really, they're all fantasy. The $100 bill is not worth 100 because the 100 can't buy shit. That's the inflation that you need to understand. So you can never reverse it. Biden, well, we'll just do this and do that and we'll reverse it. You cannot reverse it. You printed 150 trillion. You're fucked. You cannot reverse inflation. Look what the Nazis did, 1920, 23 in Germany. It took a wheelbarrow to buy milk and cheese. And then, so how did they end it? They went from the, what was it? The 1 mark to the Deutschmark, right? And when they went to the Deutschmark, then it stabilized prices for a few years. And then when Hitler took over in 32, he was bankrupt. So he created fake money. And then he did a lot of bonds, and Mercedes helped him and Ford helped him. And they built all this, talk about a war. They built all the machines and equipment and bullets and stuff. And that came due in 1939 when the war started because Germany was bankrupt. And all they did was go to the central banks in Poland and Czechoslovakia and France and all that, and they stole the gold because it was still the only game in town was the gold. It's the only lifeboat. And that's what the Germans did. They stole the gold, took it to Switzerland, and we were able to change it. And the Swiss didn't care because they said gold's gold. And then the Germans could take the new Swiss gold and sell it and get their iron ore and materials needed to make the tanks and planes and all that shit. But again, it's the only way you can do it is to change it. Zimbabwe, 8th time they went bankrupt. They finally went to a gold back called a ZiG, a gold back currency. It's the only way. Russia, they're on their 8th ruble. Why? Because the other 7 went bankrupt. Because there's no fix. The only fix is to come out with a new dollar. So the U.S. will come out with a USD too. Digital will never work because it's not real. And if it's not backed by anything, or you're trying to tie it to the dollar that's not worth anything, do not get into stablecoin. Do not get into Bitcoin. Do not get into any digital money. If you cannot touch the money, do not get in it. You can touch it. You can safe it. You can use it. If I hand you the silver, you're fine. If it's digital, you have no idea. And then what do you do with it? It's not worth anything. Oh, I got to transfer it to my bank and hope my bank gives me worthless dollars for it. Yeah, see how that works. So just be careful with that. All right, a little more Stossel, and then we'll get to Mark McGuire.
Impose them.
That's what caused those lineups for gasoline, which really were destructive.
It's ridiculous waiting online here.
We waited in line for hours.
Did you get gas today? Where'd you find it? Where do I go? Price controls are like saying it's really cold, and I'm going to solve that by breaking the thermometer.
This says it's freezing. I don't like being cold, so I'll fix it.
But it's actually worse than that, because breaking the thermometer at least doesn't make the temperature get colder, whereas price controls cause actual shortages.
Like empty supermarket shelves. People in Venezuela experienced that, and the price controls didn't stop inflation. In fact, it got much worse.
It's the oil-rich country's inflation rate at 270%.
700% this year.
400,000.
Yeah, but again, they're basing it on prices. That's not how you measure inflation. Also, what price control does is people don't make it anymore. So like I say, if I can only sell Canadian Club for $10, but this bottle cost me 30, I don't make it anymore. That's why you got shortages. They could only sell oil for whatever they were selling it for. Nobody was making the oil. They ran out of oil because the normal procedure is I make it because I can make profit. If you take the profit out of it, you're not selling Canadian Club or gas or chocolate or whatever. I noticed dark chocolate, they don't have price controls, but there is a problem with the supply, and they're like $6 for my $2 dark chocolate. So I very rarely buy it because I'm not going to pay $6 for a dark chocolate candy bar. No, I want the cocoa, but that's ridiculous. All right, so that's all. That's what inflation is. So I want everybody to understand that, because too many people really don't get it. All right, let's look at Mark. So I was watching this one, Inflation Explained by Ben Shapiro. I'm not going to waste your time on it. He gets off on a tangent on supply chains. Like, that has nothing to do with inflation. So he's, again, thinking inflation is cost. It's not. If the price goes up, that's the market talking. People get confused that the money is worth less, and they don't look at that part of it. So what they see is the prices go up, and they go, that's the inflation, and they're measuring it year over year. But it isn't. The market controls what the price is. As I've said a million times, the market says the $20 New York strip nobody wants, it goes on sale for 10. What happened to the inflation? Was it not inflated? No, it's nobody. The market said $10 is the price, not 20. The inflation is the money printing. So in theory, the money weakens, and therefore it takes you more dollars, but you don't know what that is. You don't know how many dollars you need for the New York strip. The market controls that. So there's two things going on here. Money printed, money's worth less, which then triggers price increases, but what the market will bear. So it's always supply demand. So if gold is 5,000, it really has nothing to do with inflation from the standpoint of the 5,000. It has to do with people demanding the gold because of the inflation. But there's no correlation between what the dollar's worth versus the gold's worth. So if gold goes up to 5,100 on Monday, it didn't mean the dollar went down 100, because it can't, because it's not worth anything now. So don't be fooled. The money is worthless. Yes, we can still go to Kroger's. We can still go out to eat with our credit cards and buy things because they have to, because that's the law, and they'd be out of business. So to stay in business, as long as the money works, it just isn't worth anything. All right, Mark McGuire. Where's Mark?
Let this small device sit in your home to generate clean, free energy, and never worry about. We said that's going to be higher by probably, but both are going to. Over markets as well. Over to you, Andy. Yeah, thanks, Shane. Nice to be with everyone again. Hey, we were only with you last Friday. As it happened, we gave a market update then. It was necessary. That's why we popped it in there for you. And joined by Craig, and it was really well received. And I thank Craig for joining us, kind of to pull all that stuff together. But hey, just as we anticipated, and obviously we were right on the cusp of things happening. The deeply fundamentally and technically oversold gold and silver, it began to turn right around last Friday. And we'll look at the charts in a little while, but I mean, there it was, bang on cue. And while the physical markets had barely budged into the 100% derivative-driven sell-off. I mean, do you know anyone that sold their physical? I don't. But let's first step through the mammoth derivative footprints that really led to a short covering reversal last Friday, and some interesting things that have happened since. Now, as we touched on in last week's market update last Friday, triggered by the implosion of the Western sanctioned Remember, it was that we showed it on the charts, the Chinese UBS SDIC silver futures fund suspension. There was a redemption crisis. The contagion then spread across into China, into similarly structured, highly leveraged. They were initially long-only virtual gold and silver platforms. Well, they were just so leveraged. And the deleveraging fallout primarily weighed on silver futures. Now, these toxic gold and silver derivative structures had been technically, as we said, hedged against a virtual COMEX derivative benchmark. So indirectly in the sense, but benchmarked to it. And when Chinese regulators stepped in to shut down these derivative structures on January the 30th, it immediately ignited an unprecedented global derivative, a doom loop, which is what we were witnessing. However, as we reported, liquidity providers had assessed the synthetic condition was likely be structurally exhausted by the Friday session close. And while the bid-ask spreads are actually still elevated even now, as we will look at shortly, this looks to have carved out a strong bottom net of speculators to rally from. Now, in fact, what I'm hearing is that the PBOC was very, very unhappy. I was going to use a stronger term, very unhappy about the leveraged, unbacked, disruptive volatility, and has tasked the regulator, their own regulator, to put stronger position limit structures in place alongside raising margins to as high as they deem necessary. And what they want to do is tame this sort of futures disruptive volatility. It goes against what they're trying to achieve. Could it be that they raise it to 100%? Yeah, it is entirely possible to come in line with the SGE physical market. But and that's something we've slowly been evidencing in the US futures markets. But that has been for a completely different reason to the SGE. And while the SGE is loading up physical into shortages, the reported US derivative positions are completely bereft of any physical backing. And the SGE physical silver breakout has exposed a massive deficit in COMEX positioning, which is coming into the SGE crosshairs for delivery of these unbacked silver bets into really tight supply. Now, here's what really ticked off the PBOC. Widely deceptive.
Hate when I do that.
Now, here's what really ticked off the PBOC. Widely disseminated reports that billionaire Chinese whale silver short trader, through his brokerage Shanghai Futures Company, he was controlling 450 tons, 30,000 short contracts of silver. And halfway through the sell-off, deliberately leaked that information out, which is what you see sort of being published here, to further spoof the market makers and to dissuade longs from buying into the deliberately spoofed dip. And these directional short bets were benchmarked against around a $30, $150,000 per contract, lower priced COMEX futures market, where they had some client relationships active too. And so into which on Friday, liquidity providers reported that CFTC regulators were also investigated related spoofing insider trading footprints emanating from pre-placed related these ZFC client COMEX short SI long and OPEX put bets. So they basically had these short bets in silver futures, and also they had bets against the long side of futures, as well as placing put bets that the price would drop. Now there, it's almost, I mean, we've seen that in the past when you had, like, for example, 9/11, there was a sudden amount of puts the day before it. Well, they were all unwound because it was realized an event was happening. Therefore, they neutralized all of those and also used that trail to go after people. But again, that is exactly, although it's not of that equivalent, this is just one of many, many rinses, but it was generated in China, and that really annoyed the PBOC. Now, given this massive unhedged constant.
So this is my point with physical and the paper. They're two different markets. There shouldn't be together, or why did my silver drop from 120 to 70? Because some Madoff goes and he shorts $3 billion worth of derivatives. But that's what lowered the price. So this guy's making all this money shorting. Had it just been in the physical market, you're never going to go to the grocery store and you can never lower this price. If this price is $100, you can't put options on it. The only thing that can happen is nobody wants to buy Canadian Club 12-year and the price goes down. But that's not what happened here. The guy is doing options and shorting $3 billion of options, driving the price down from 100 to 70. All because some guy, now that he made $3 billion because he did that, but it's bullshit. It kills all the people holding the physical, because we're running around there going, what the fuck's going on? Nobody sold physical. Then why would the price go down? In a real free market, the price would have, if it was really 120, would never have moved, because nobody selling it. And again, we're still playing these little paper games, making some banks rich by fucking around with everybody else. And this should not be allowed. That's why COMEX should be dissolved. Let's get to a physical game. That's what you need. So the quicker to a physical, the better. But we got to kill COMEX, because it hurts us who are physical people, because the price of physical should never go down. Not at this point. There's too much demand and there's no supply. This price just goes one way up. In a COMEX paper market, yes, you have, that's when these guys don't get it and they go, well, it's going to come back. It's profit taking. No, it's one guy doing a $3 billion short. That's totally bullshit. That's why we get frustrated and we don't understand. Well, this guy did it. The price went down. People are selling their silver because this idiot is doing a $3 billion short and everybody's selling it. Why are you selling it? Well, it's going down. It's going down because this idiot did that. That's not normal free market physical gold and silver prices. So that's why we take advantage of when COMEX drops, because we know it's not real.
Traded Shanghai Futures Company short position has also impacted a regulated US exchange. The CFTC and its Chinese counterpart, the CSRC, are looking into this proxy relationship. For its part, the CSRC is enforcing an unwinding of futures position concentration that dwarfs dwindling silver exchange stocks, so way in excess of what was even in the exchange. Well, that's not unusual for as we know, in the COMEX, because we regularly see huge imbalances like that. But this was not anticipated. And once it was caught, they really started to slam down on that position. And that's ultimately going to force a short squeeze against these unbacked leveraged futures bets. But they don't want to do it the other way too quickly. They want to unwind this in an orderly fashion. Now, while this investigation has in itself prompted some short covering, regardless, given the backwardations, i.e. the enormous premiums against COMEX futures, and these large premiums into unprecedented silver shortages, liquidity providers anticipate these wrong at both ends. Remember, momentums, they're wrong at both ends and right in the middle. And they always overshoot. These wrong at both ends momentum positions are expecting as many positions as possible to be short covered into the 16th of February. Now, this is going to be released on Friday. And then we've got the Lunar New Year that coming on the 16th. So they want to cover as many as possible before the New Year holiday without triggering an equal upside wide spread disruption. Now, the long only short covering process is being managed by the PBOC. Now, it's not going unnoticed that this entire debacle was also all about averting a COMEX silver default. So, let's just, there's a lot going on in here. And I'm not saying it didn't suit suit those positions. That we'll look at the more granular detail of that. But keep in mind, the officials also needed to bail out an impossible deliver over 1,500 tons of silver futures warrants that at first notice had stood for delivery. And that the noted thin market bid pulling into the margin increases that the COMEX put in places and also was coordinated with the PBOC undoubtedly provided the catalyst for this momentum short bet to actually be ignited. However, while this long stop rinse and the subsequent long positioning against these wrong at both ends momentum shorts, because they were gone long into bubble territory, now they went short into bubble territory. While this process has relieved the immediate too big to fail silver problem, these paper to physical imbalances have yet to fully backfire into massive structural physical silver shortages. We've seen multiple efforts to try and groom silver to chart paint it lower. And this is quite evident by the massive, what we know that this is counterintuitive because there's massive backwardations and elevated lease costs to borrow silver. So it's going to be like pushing on a string. So circling back, while the US derivative positions are bereft of any physical backing, and with the SGE physical silver breakout above the decades-old LBMA CME cap at 50, and remember that we had that cap there for decades, what it's done is exposed, this breakout has exposed a massive deficit in COMEX positioning, which is really coming into the SGE crosshairs for physical delivery of these unbacked silver bets. If you can't get the physical anywhere else, what are you going to do? You're going to go after it. And to be honest, even if it was higher priced, they'd still come after it. And conversely, as we drew attention to during the whole of 2025, now this is important, the PBOC is building a massive silver stockpile, which is built in sufficient size, alongside gold, obviously,
That's
to be
China.
able to convert physically backed SGE silver into a high quality liquid asset equivalent. And remember, we talked about that, and people couldn't really get the idea. How can silver be a high quality liquid asset? Well, if it's contained in a physically structured environment where to buy and sell it, you have to own the physical, it does by default. When all is said and done, it is essentially becoming a high quality liquid asset, which is ultimately now in the crosshairs of being collateralized as the people's money. And just like the PBOC opened gold as money to its citizens in 2010, and then regularly opened it up in further and further layers down the line to everybody, even from when it used to be like just bars. We had, do you remember the big house-sized billboards in 2010, buy gold? But it was really aimed at the wealthy. Then, as over the years, they've opened up gold to more and more and more people. Well, just like they did along the way with gold, ultimately they're opening silver up as money. And ultimately it means that 1.5 billion citizens we sanctioned to use silver as money. This is mind-boggling stuff. What's the price? Well, I don't know. I mean, who would know? But I suspect it will lower the gold-silver ratio to historical levels, say 15-1, and with $8,000 gold pretty much assessed by the majority of our liquidity providers, that puts silver at plus or minus $500, well above the current inflation-adjusted $230 per ounce, which we referred to last time. So in summary, it's the golden yuan that's turning the gold and silver vaults in Shanghai, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, upcoming vaults in Singapore, Africa, Saudi, and the inevitable full BRICS expansion into the epicenter of a new global monetary system. It is just the commencement of the expansion of a gold and silver trading and vaulting corridor where high quality liquid gold and silver assets are able to be employed as institutional collateral. Ballooning physical gold liquidity is increasingly competing with sovereign bonds as an alternate tier one collateral. Now, these high quality liquid asset gold investments are being aggregated in the expanding SGE gold and silver corridor. And as a result, gold is set free to operate as institutional cross-border liquidity. Now it's dawning on the US Treasury that silver is also about to be monetized. It's time for the shorts to get out of Dodge. And what Trump has underestimated in his war on BRICS, it isn't that the 100% physically backed global facing BRICS gold hubs feeding into this golden yuan and the 40% backed payment channels are seeking to replace the dollar. They are not. It's simply that gold provides sufficient liquid, unimpeachable, high quality liquid asset collateral that enables central banks, sovereigns, and global institutions to replace high-risk treasuries for financing, hedging, repos, etc. Think about now silver. When you're certain that you have a price based in yuan, which is convertible into gold, and now you've put silver into the same corridor, it is a mind-boggling thought. And these are the extremely liquid macro drivers that we've kind of been going through that will evidence both gold, physical gold, and silver to reclaim their global monetary status. It's going to happen much, much faster than anyone's thought. And this is just one reason, and I'm sure it doesn't help that we've got global geopolitical uncertainty, tariffs, one thing and another, really accelerated the process, which has been in place for a long time. It's going to happen in
All right. What do you say?
2026. And this is just one reason.
It's going to happen in 2026. Yep. We're way ahead of you, Mark. 17.
Now, gold has been far more difficult to short sell into returning central bank buying. That resulted in SGE premiums averaging about $35 premium to this spot contract, the Loco London spot. And following a massive 13.7 billion of speculative managed money selling, gold quickly evidenced central bank sovereign and institutional buyers taking absolutely everything that was on offer. And this is the futures market view, which is trading about $35, or still is roughly $35 under the SGE price. Now, into this, the open interest, the number of chips in play, absolutely collapsed with a long open interest, largely ejected. It leaves gold well set up for resumption of a physically driven rally from a much higher stair step. And that's in place now. And we think the next stair step is at 5,000. Now, as we identified last time, liquidity providers were reporting that central bank gold buying had stepped up sub-spot 5,000 into the dollar strength. We also evidence institutional size conversions of dollars, US treasuries, into physical gold, into high quality liquid asset, physical gold. These balance sheet alternatives that are now available to anyone. Hence, gold is holding up comparatively well versus the momentum in sold silver. And following a little settling and it's really headed to new highs against the dollar. Both are. Now, while exacerbated by thin liquidity, still favoring the momentum shorts, as we drew attention to last Friday, spot gold selling sub 5,000 has been triggering very large central bank sovereign and institutional buying. Now we see tokenized gold explosion. It's gone past 4 billion now. Signals institutional positioning is coming into gold in size into a way that was never.
So people get scared. Is gold going to go down? Is silver going to go down? Now, what he just said was all this demand tokenized by the central banks, by these pension funds, insurance companies, and the public and central banks. So there's huge demand for it. So that's why the price really won't go down. The silver price was the one guy who did a $3 billion short. And they're looking in. China does not want that. China does not want the price to go down, especially by the one guy. So they're looking into it. They'll probably arrest him and take all his silver. But that was just one guy doing it, and there was nothing in place to stop him. But you can see it's bought back up, and silver's back, 78, let's say. So what you see is it's because of the guy selling, not because no demand or everybody's dumping. He was making money on his shorts. That's all it was. He found it had gone up so high that he could come in and short it. So it was at 120. So he says, "Oh, I'll short it," and he shorted it and went all the way down to like 70. So he makes $3 billion. So that was a smart play by him, but it fucks up everybody at the physical world. So that's what happens. So that's why you don't have to worry. There's demand by BRICS will keep the prices going up. That's the new variable. That's the new fox in the hen house, because that will keep that we don't have to worry about it because there's huge demand. As long as we have huge demand, which we do, all of BRICS, and the supply is gone, there isn't any. So once you have no supply and huge demand, the price has to go up. So you shouldn't worry about, is the price going to go down? Do not sell and get out. Never. This will be sold when it hits, when it hits about 500-600. If I need, okay, this is 2 ounces. I sell one of these. I got 14 of them. I'm not selling all 14. You sell a little here and a little there to, pay some bills, go on a trip, send Joey to college, whatever it is. But you're not doing anything else. You're not profit taking this, because if you do, you're back into this. And we know this is not worth anything. So why do I want to sell my gold or silver and get back into this or get back into this? Neither of these are worth anything. So why do I want to sell it to get back into this? You don't, right? You just keep watching your gold and silver go up. Now they have these little, this little guy with his little shorts and knocking the price down, but it's very temporary. And that's it. And yeah, there was margin calls, and yeah, there was mark to market on January 30th, and this idiot was doing it. So that's what we know. All right.
Able to be accessed before, while integrating this physical gold, digitized physical gold, with digital settlement and custody systems that are unimpeachable. Also, India's resilient culture demand and its ETF inflows add further tailwinds to gold. This is a moment, opportunity moment following what has been a clean out. Gold is good at acting as a risk barometer because it often moves first to absorb defensive flows before stress becomes visible elsewhere. And people are waking up to that and are very, very quick to act.
So more demand. All right, well, look at this last thing, the Lunar New Year.
I can actually share what I'm seeing today. There's only 2 days to go to the lunar holiday. So when you see this on Friday, I'm just recording this ahead of that. Well, very short term, really, while gold price is unsustainable below the central bank bid interest at 5,000, it's silver that's been trapped inside the momentum-centric crosshairs, has consistently managed to stay above its 50-day, its rising 50-day moving average. As we said, that's going to be higher by probably about to about $80 on Friday when you get this. And there's little doubt this will have upset and really upset the momentum shorts. Are we saying we won't get any more pushbacks? Of course, we would expect some pushbacks. But we know that the PBOC and the regulator is very, very angry with what happened. They're trying to build a physical exchange that can be relied on as a high quality liquid asset. And the last thing they want is any kind of disruption. So notably, also just one of the things I'm looking at today is silver fixed at its highs of the day. These are just signs that we look for intraday. It has nothing to do with the big picture. But given Chinese traders will want to ditch any bearish skew derivative exposure ahead of the New Year holiday, we would expect short covering into any synthetic seller trims. And I think that's what we're kind of getting. There's been always capping now at the 10. So, this is a marketplace where these moving averages has historically were anchored in a time when the markets, especially when you look at the longer term ones, the 100, the 200, and the 50, anchored at a time when the markets were actually paper settled. They're no longer being settled in the paper markets. So while you get these pushbacks in the US futures markets, you're getting a much higher price being settled in the physical markets, even the Western-facing SGE exchanges, where we know producers, refiners are seeking the safe haven of a physically settled price. A quick call around the desks this morning, just for reference, evidenced most speculators on the sidelines, while strong Asian physical demand for gold and tight silver supply continues to underpin strong building central bank, sovereign, and institutional support for gold at spot 5,000, which is around this level here. And we're seeing institutional support for silver at 80. And that's into deeply backwardated conditions. So liquidity providers see any dips sub these levels will continue to be bought in size. These are exactly the stabilizing conditions required to bring neutral market maker liquidity back into gold and silver. For the heck of it, we would expect both the long and short specs to stay out of silver ahead of Lunar New Year holiday, while gold demand will just continue to pick up. And that is something that we are evidencing at the desks.
So the lunar holidays this week is like the year of the cat or the rat or whatever China does. So that starts tomorrow. So I don't know if the trading might be thinner around holiday. I don't know what happens. All right. Okay, let's talk a little poker. So there's two things in poker. If you play Texas Hold'em, there's many games, but we'll talk Texas Hold'em. If you play Texas Hold'em, there's tournaments and there's cash games. The cash game, that's what I play. It's I take 300, I buy $300 worth of chips. It's $1, $3 are the antes. I can go all in at any time, and the antes never change. It's always 1-3. You learn the players. Can you bluff or not? What do you do? Who's going to bluff you? And you're problem solving the players. You know how to play the poker. When you get a really strong hand, you check because you don't want to. As you bet, you're showing your strength of your hand. So you got to be very careful. If you have a really, really strong hand, to check, because you don't want anybody to know I got 4 aces. I got a straight flush. I got a full house. I don't want anybody to know it, so I'm going to check. But even that, the check might be a tell. However, what I find the biggest problem in cash games is people overvalue hands. Ace King, terrible hand. It's a terribly overvalued hand. It's only worth something is if on the flop an ace or a king comes. Otherwise, it's useless because depending how many people are in, somebody's going to either have a pair or get a pair on the flop. And you're going to sit there with nothing. You got ace high. So you overplay ace king. That's a hand I would probably check and probably wait to see if I hit the flop. That's how I usually play it. Or I play maybe like if somebody bets, I mean, in my case, let's say $10, but in Vegas, let's say they bet $100, you might call it and see if you catch the ace or king. So there's that, but I wouldn't be too aggressive pre-flop. Now watching tournaments is a different story, but watching cash game, they way overplay ace, king, ace, queen, ace, all the ace hands. They way overplay it because it's nothing. It's crap. A pair beats it. And depending on how many people are in, if somebody catches a pair, you're done. I mean, then after the flop, there's only 2 cards. They're probably not going to catch it. So you got to be very careful of that. Second thing is going to be these small pairs. 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, even 7s. How do you play them? You check them. They're worthless. They're good against ace king, but the thing you play it for is to flop the set. Well, what are the odds on getting the set are very small. So leaves you have 2s. Somebody makes a decent bet. How can you stay in? The odds on you getting the other 2 are 2 out of whatever cards are left. So they're probably 2%, 3%. It's let's say it's 5, it would be 5% times 2 would be 10%. Your odds, if you play the odds. I'm not a big odds player. Because I don't buy them. I don't know. There's if I'm playing with 7 people, that's 14 cards exposed. I have no idea what they are. So how can I come up with a formula? So again, what do you do with a pair of 2s? Okay, let's say you see the ace king and the board comes 5, 7, and a 9. Now what do? You don't know where you can't. At best, you can beat a hand that didn't get a pair, and any pair beats you because you got a 2. So what do you do with the hand? If you don't catch the third 2 on the flop, you're fucked. And so let's say you play ace king and ace king bets, we're playing 1, 2, 3. We're playing 1, 2, no limit. So let's say he bets $50. You're going to call with a pair of 2s? You really can't. Even though you've got the ace king beat, it makes no sense to call with a pair of 2s. Oh, I can read the guy and I know he's just got ace king. You bullshit. You can't read it. You don't know what the guy has. I have 2 cards. You have 2 cards. I never know your 2 cards. You never know my 2 cards. You can look at me for tells to say if I'm strong or weak. That you can do unless I give you a fake tell, which I will do every time. Once I know somebody's looking at me, they're not getting the truth. They're getting acting. They're getting, I'm not really, oh, geez. Oh my God. I got trip aces. Oh my God. You're not getting any type of realism from me. You don't know you can't look at me and go, oh, he's weak. I mean, I hear that from the pros a lot. They'll say, oh, I thought he was weak. Based on what? Reading what? Reading what he wants you to read. Do you think people are this stupid if you're going to play professional poker that you're going to not have fake tells? This is what your pros are thinking about. That's why so many people, very hard to be a professional poker player, because if that's your reasoning, you win when you get aces and kings and queens, and anybody can win. But unless you get a set of 2s, you're not winning shit with the set. D? Yeah, it's D. Just a second. All right. So in poker, the only thing you can read with any certainty is the bet. Does it make sense? And usually, the biggest tell is the big bet on the river. They know they can't win if they don't bet, and then it's does it make sense? Are you really gonna bet X amount of money? So we're playing 1-2. Okay, so the guy bets $200. Think about logic here. Most people who have a big hand want you to call. They're going, how much more money can I get on you? Can I get, well, I got a full house. I'll bet $75 or something to get you to call if they think I have a good hand. Otherwise, I'm going to fold. So when it's a big bet, like $300 on the river, it's almost 99% a bluff, because by doing that, you're gonna fold with the big bet. And I don't want you to fold. I want you to call me because I got you beat. So that's the whole point. So you got to be very careful. That's what you're reading is the bet. Then you learn the player. Well, the player now sometimes they will kind of fool you and make a $300 bet on the river, and then you call because you think it's a bluff. But you're probably only going to be in with a good hand by the river. So we're at the river. Now I either went for a flush or a straight and I didn't get it, or I flopped trips, or I got two pair. If I got aces, I'm out. Any check raise is, to me, 99% is an immediate fold, especially if I'm heads up. I've been watching that. Daniel Negreanu, he does a check. The guy bets, he raises him. A check raise, he's got it every time, right? 100% of the time he's check raising, he's got a big hand. And that's a tell that you can't really see with anything else. Sorry about that. All right, back to poker. So, my apologies. So what happens is your they start reading you. So I've flopped a set, and I'm kind of quiet and checking. And then if the guy makes a big bet on the river, he's got the hand. If he check raises you, if he checks on the river and you bet, and then he check raises you, then it's a bluff. But if he's got the goods, he's going to bet you because he thinks you have a hand because you're betting and you're still in, and we're at the river, and you got to have at least two pairs. You have a good hand, you'll probably call. I can bet a little bit more on you, and that's what he does. So this is all cash games. You're reading the bets. You're seeing what does the player stay in with or not. Is he on a draw? Is he playing ace kings? Is he playing? He probably plays the low pocket pairs, and you'll see that because he'll turn over a set of threes. And you go, oh, he plays pocket threes. Normally, when I bet aces or kings, I bet like $20, $30. In Detroit and Vegas, it's 50. And you might get one or two callers either with less of a pair or on an ace king or maybe a 9-10 of diamonds or something. And then you watch the flop. And if they check and you bet, and you don't have to bet too much, just $20, $30. And then they'll tell you if they either hit the flop or if they got some straight and flush cards, or they're just going to play their pair of queens or pair of tens. That's what the bet does. If they check raise you, they're doing it because they know you have a good hand. And if you have a good hand, they think you're going to call. See, I do not call my aces. I have pocket aces and you check and I bet like $30. And then you come over the top and check raise me for 100. I fold 100% of the time because you know I got a good hand. You are not going to you're not going to bluff a guy who's got a good hand because you assume he's going to call you, and if he calls you, you're dead. So you're never going to bluff a guy with a good hand. Very difficult too, because he probably won't go out. So that's what you see. Although I do see that in the tournament play, watching like this World Series of Poker or some of these other games on YouTube now with this Poker Go, and you'll see Daniel Negreanu make a big bet, and the guy has kings, and he folds, and you're like, "What do you shouldn't be playing if you're going to fold that." If the king's the high card and you got a pair of kings, and he makes a big bet on the river, which is telling you he's bluffing because it's the only way he can win is by bluffing you out. It's obviously a bluff, but you can't fold it. You've got to. If you got top pair, you've got to call it, right? Did he have aces? It didn't look like it. So that's cash game. You're pretty much reading the bets. You're pretty much understanding, does this guy check? Does he check with the good hand, or does he bet with the good hand? And I mix it up because if I get a real good hand, I'm mixing it up. And you don't know when I'm bluffing and when I'm not, and that's the real point of it. So you got to be careful with it. That's the key. So that's what you're reading is his bets, and then you study when they go up to showdown. What did he showdown with? And you're hoping you can. Oh, he had a pair of kings. He had a pair of nines. He had a pair of sevens. He had a straight, a flush. And then you start seeing how he plays. So his bet will tell you what he's doing once you realize and problem solve the player to know what he'll do. Like I said, the Russian girl, she bluffed a lot and she'd bet a lot on the bluff. But then when she had the hand, she would check. So she's telling you exactly what she has. Now, even though you can't see the cards, the bet shows you what she's doing. And that's a big thing. So that's what you're looking at in cash game. You got to be careful. Do not. Now, there's two rule. One, when you got the monster, you check it. I saw a guy raise with a straight flush, and of course the guy folded, and you're like, "What are you doing?" That should never be bet. But when they have weaker hand, they have a pair of aces, or they have an ace king and an ace hits, and they slow play it. That's the worst thing you can do, because first of all, you're letting the player catch up, and inevitably the guy, once he sees all 5 cards out, your aces are worthless. So they're going to catch a straight. They're going to catch a flush on you. They're going to catch 2 pair. Oh, he's just 8-6. He hit the 8s, and now he hit the 6 on the river, and you fucked up because you let him see it. So you got to bet. You got to protect that hand, that ace king. You get the ace or the king or a pair of 10s. You've got to protect the hand. You cannot check it. It's not strong enough to be checked. Yes, a set of aces. Yes, you're slow playing. You hit a straight or a full house on the river, 4 of a kind I've hit on the flop. Okay, I'm not betting that. However, I will bet it on the river. I'm not going to check the river with the full house or 4 of a kind. And that goes back to my other point about bluffing on the river. If you have the hand, you are not going to check that hand on the river unless you're a total idiot, or unless you're against a very aggressive player who, like if you're against Tom DeWan and I got the full house and I'm going to check the river because I know he's going to bet and he's going to try to bluff me out. Good luck to you, Charlie Brown. I got 4 of a kind. You're fucked. But a normal player who's not that aggressive, but he will make, I'm going to bet my river because I want to get paid off. And that's probably 99%. You want to bet the river to get paid off. Even if the guy, he's still going to bluff to beat you. So even if he's Tom DeWan, I might still bet, $100 on the river, knowing he's going to try to bluff me. So even then, I'm still going to bet. Very rarely am I going to check and assume Tom DeWan's going to bet, or some aggressive guy is going to bet on me. And that's it. Now, the problem with Tom DeWan, he bets too much. He's always bluffing. He's always making big bets. So you just slow play him. Oh, I flopped the full house. Go ahead, Tom, make your bets, and I'm going to come over the top and go all in on the river, and you're going to call and lose all your money. That's how you beat a Tom DeWan. You just slow play him. But he does put pressure on you by making big bets. Now you have your fear of losing. That goes back to playing what you can afford to lose. And that's it. Now we go into now it's most of the same rules for tournament. The problem with tournaments is you get blinded off. So when you see these people near the end of the tournament, and they got 5 million chips, but the blinds and antes, or the blinds are $500,000, $1 million, I only got 5 hands left. So that's why you see them go all in with the bullshit. Oh, I got ace 9. I'm going all in because I'm going all in because I'm going to get blinded out. And that's the difference between a cash game and a tournament. The blinds never go up in a cash game. It's 1-3, no limit, or 5-10, or 10-20, whatever the hell you're playing. You never get blinded out because you're not playing, 500,000, million blinds in a cash game, right? Unless you're the president of Saudi Arabia or something, or Putin. That's it. You're going to probably play 20-40 or 20-50 or something like that. And so you're not going to get blinded. In these tournaments, the World Series, poker, everything else, you end up getting blinded off. So you end up saying, well, if I don't play the hand, I'm going to have to put in $1 million for the blind and $500,000 once you're on the table. And especially if there's only 4 or 5 players left, I'm fucked because I'm going to run out of money. So I have to push. And that's why you see a lot of these races in these tournaments late in the tournament where ace king goes against ace queen or whatever, which is really bad poker. That's what I don't like about tournaments. They take so long. So if I want to play 20 hands of cash and I catch a set and I win, $300, I'll get up and leave. And I'll say, thank you. Well, I'll play more, but because I'm hot, but I can get up anytime and leave. In a tournament, I can't. In a tournament, they're going to keep going up and up and up. And I'm going to have to wait till the tournament's over if I want to cash. Depending on the tournament, it might take a whole day. So I'm sitting there a whole day, and maybe I win. And I'm going to get 1099. I'm not getting 1099 in the cash game. That's the part they don't show you is the 1099 at the World Series Poker. Oh, he cashed for 100,000, and here's your 1099 as we give you the 100,000. I don't know if they give them checks or cash or whatever, but that's the other part of it. So you got to be very careful in the tournament about the blinds. That's the key. The other thing is, the bluffing. It's the same theory. They have to bluff to beat you. They bluff. And what I'm saying is if you have kings, if you hit king, queen, and the king flops, it's the top card on board, you've got to call it because you're going to get blinded off anyway. So this is your opportunity to see it. But I feel most people bail out a little early with their all-in ace, king, or 9, 10, or a pair of sevens. I'm all in. And then they get called by the ace, king. And then it becomes miracle time. The ace king needs the miracle of a 6-outer to win, or maybe he gets a flush draw or a straight draw on the flop. I mean, that could also be what happens. But I would be very careful with that. Other things in tournaments, a lot of bluffing, a lot more bluffing because you're forced to. Again, your blinds and antes are running out. So you go, well, I got to, maybe I'll just limp in, see the flop, and then bluff the flop because then it looks a lot more like, then it's giving me a chance to hit something. So if I have ace, king, I might not go all in near the end of a tournament where I'm getting blinded out. I might make a smaller bet just to see it. And then, boom, I hit the ace or I hit the king. Boom, now I go all in and go from there. And I'll probably get called because the psychology is totally changed. Now the guy with the bigger stack calls to get me, knock me out of the tournament. He makes more money. So he's not playing like a cash game. He's playing he's playing get you out of the tournament. So you will get calls. So you got to be careful. But if you have better hands, just push it in because they want to eliminate you. So you see a lot of ace, 7, ace, king, all-ins, ace, queen, all-in, but not in the beginning of the tournament. It's more normal. The other thing is this all-in crap. There's too many times you have ace, king, or ace, queen, or a pair of fives, and the player goes all in. He's got $10 million and blinds are ante or maybe 100, 200,000. So they really have enough. They don't have to go all in. And then somebody calls them all in. These people are idiots because you're risking. You need a miracle, no matter what hand you got. If you have pocket aces, you're okay. If you have ace, king, you need a miracle. You catch one of the aces, one of the kings. That's it. 6 cards, unless you flop the straight or flush. And the same thing when the guy calls with the pair of 2s or the pair of 5s. You need a miracle to catch the set because otherwise you're behind because you're going to see 5 cards on the table that get the 5 community cards, and they're all going to be higher than 2s, unless it's the 2 gives you the set. Well, that's fine, but otherwise, even the 3s or 5s or 10s are going to beat you. So you overplay. I think you overplay your small pairs. I think that's more of a cash game. You might call it and then hope to hit the set on the flop. In the tournament, you're fucked because very difficult. You're not going to catch it very rarely. I mean, you will. Joe Cata pulled his crap out of his ass. Oh, I got a set of 2s and a set of 3s, and I'm the best player. No, you're just lucky. You're not good. You're an idiot for calling with 2s or 3s, right? So that's where it becomes very, very lucky. You're all in, and that's what I'm noticing watching these final tables and final 27s down to 9s, and it's just pure luck. I'm all in with 7, 8 of diamonds, and I hope I catch my straight or flush. And then on the river it's just pure luck. You don't want to play with luck. You want to play with skill. You can't play with skill if you're just going all in with two cards, hoping that you hit the third card or nobody else hits, or oh, they need a diamond. Oh, they hit a diamond. That's pure luck. You want to avoid luck. We are professionals. We are not into luck. We do not use luck to pick football games. We get lucky on it when the guy misses a field goal or something, but we're basically Seattle winning was pure skill. We knew they were going to win. We gave you the reasons and they won. That's what you want. And that's the skill part of football betting and poker. I really don't want to mess around pre-flop. Unless I'm in a tournament and I'm short stack where I have to go in. Even then, I probably won't. I'll probably see the flop before I go all in. I don't want to play luck. I want to play skill. So if I have ace king and an ace or king hits the flop, then all in. Not on the ace king. A, I don't know what the other people have, but B, I'm fucked. I see that a lot where aces and then ace king calls aces and they basically have no chance. Well, let's see how aces bet, and then let's see the flop with the ace king, because the aces are always going to go all in, but they got aces. See, they waited for their hand and then they bet. And what you're doing with ace king or ace queen or pocket nines is you're just relying on luck. Pocket nines, it's amazing how many, what do we got? Ace, king, queen, jack, and 10. So we got 5 times 4 is 20 cards out of the 52 are 10 or higher. And it's amazing how many flops you see with the 10 jack, with the paint card or an ace, right? It's amazing how many you see. But the odds are against you to see that. So you're calling with ace queen. The odds are not an ace or queen on the flop. And as far as the diamonds or the hearts, I mean, that's just pure luck. So that's the problem with Hold'em. It's too much luck involved. You can have, there's times I've had aces against tens, and the guy flops the case 10 on the river, and I lose. Well, I should have won because I had the better hand, and he needed a one-outer on the river to beat me, and that's the whole problem, right? It's too much luck. So you wanna disguise your hand, because it's the bet that's the tell. You can say, I can sit there and make faces and smiles and do this, stick my tongue out. You have no idea what I have, but I can't fake my bet. I bet 100. It's a bet. And then if you're playing, the question's going to be just like gold, just like everything else. Why? Why did he bet $100? Or I bet 100 and he called me. Why is he calling me? Those are the two questions you need to ask that they do not ask. I can see they don't ask. They just snap call or whatever. They are not asking, why did the guy call me? Is he normally calling? And normally when he plays, what does he call me with? Against other hands, when a guy bets 100 and he calls, what does he have? Probably it'll be a small pair or something, hoping to hit a set as we go. Now, again, that check raise is going to tell you, unless it's on the river where they checked and then you bet, then the check raise is a bluff 100% of the time. But out there, like I say, on the flop, check, and I bet my aces, and then he raises me 100% of the time, that's a hand. And I'm watching all this World Series of Poker, and it just plays out. The check raises on the flop, or they got big hands. The check raises on the river are all bluffs. Again, keep in mind, a lot of the times they have to bet you on the river to win, right? There's no more cards coming out. You've seen all 5. You've got your hand. Now, it depends where your stack is, but these guys, they'll make a big bet on the river. Well, if somebody's just checking and you can see they're kind of on a straight or flush draw, then the river comes, and then they make this $100,000 bet. Obviously, they're bluffing. It's very obvious because they want you to call them. So they're not going to make that big a bet, or they'll maybe even if they hit the hand, they won't check you. They'll bet you because they want to get paid off. That's just. I see a few people that don't bet on the river, but then the other guy doesn't bet either, and then it's just a showdown. So he doesn't check raise. He just didn't bet his river, which is the stupidest thing you can do, unless it's a pair of 5s or 6s. But then you're not going to check raise on it. So that's the biggest tell is the check raise after the flop, and then the check raise after the river. One's real and one's bullshit. And again, a lot of it in Hold'em is they have to bet to win the hand. Now, they might be really, short and, will they call? So you mix it up. Once in a while, you fold. Once in a while, you call. You're being sneaky with your big hands. Your full house, you're checking it. Once in a while, you bet it. And then they have no idea because they're trying to read you and you're giving them mixed signals. I'm terrible to read because I'll hit a set of aces and once in a while I will bet it. Most of the time I will check it, but once in a while I'll bet it. If there's a bet out there, I will raise it. It depends. If there's quads, I'll just check. I mean, if it's that strong, like I said, there was a hand I hit quads on the flop. And I was like the 5th to act, and the first guy goes all in, the second guy calls, the third guy calls. It gets to me. I didn't even have an opportunity to make a bet. I called the all in, and I got quads, and I'm wondering what are these guys calling with, right? It's like it didn't make sense. But that's kind of what you want. You don't want to show your hand. You got to be very careful, but you can't underplay the strength. Right. Don't think pocket aces or ace king and you hit the ace is any good. You will not win once all 5 cards are out. Once all 5 cards are out and there's 3 or 4 people in the pot, you're not going to win. Somebody will hit 2 pair, a set, a straight, or a flush on you. There's too many cards out there. That's what I hate about Hold'em. 5 community cards. What are you kidding me? It's a terrible game. It's an extremely lucky game. There's not a lot of skill. I guess the betting, maybe you can bluff people out where you see the big bet on the river and the guy folds kings and you're like, what the fuck are you folding for? I think to me, if I have king, queen, and it comes out king, 9, 5, and a 2 and a 3 come out and a guy makes a big bet on me and I got king, queen, I got to call it. The psychology is you're scared to lose. So you don't want to call for fear of losing, even though it doesn't make any sense that you lost. No, you probably won because you have the top pair with the good kicker. Now I know sometimes the boards get sneaky. There's 3 or 4, let's say 4 diamonds. Oh, he's got the flush. But if he makes a real big bet, does he have the flush? Would he bet the flush that high? Because you're going to fold, and it depends what you show. So if you're betting a lot, people will bluff you more because they'll see the bets and they will think you have a good, or I should say they'll come after you more. They'll make the big bet with the big hand because they see you calling. So if it's 100 to me and I call, and 200 to me and I call, well, okay, what are you calling with? You probably have a good hand. And if you have a good hand, then I can make this really big bet on the river. And you're probably going to call because you have a good hand, hopefully not better than mine. But if I'm checking and checking, you're probably not going to, you're more apt to maybe bluff me because you think I don't have anything. So you're probably not going to bluff me when I have a good hand because you're afraid I'm going to call. But when I'm just checking, and then you make a bet, you think you can bluff me because I don't have anything. So you got to be careful on the check. Sometimes you want to have a good hand and check, and then here comes the bluff, and then you call it. And then the guy will never bluff you again if you're making any types of bets. The bluffs only work one time. They're really there to set up the big bet when you have something, right? So I'll make a big bluff. It shows, aha, you don't know what I have. I bluffed you. Boom, boom, boom. And then the next hand I got a full house and I make the same bet. He won't. He'll think I'm bluffing. He'll call me. People aren't that stupid. You bluffed it. All right. How many hands are you really going to bluff? We'll see. But anyway, that's kind of what happens. So in these tournaments, you see all these all-ins because they're getting blinded off. They overvalue their ace 7. They misplay their sets. So you get a lot of misplays. You get a lot of, I got to bet my ace king when the ace or king hits. I got to bet it. I can't slow play it because it won't win with that because I don't know what the guy has underneath. So let's say I have queen 10 and the queen's the top pair. I got to bet that. He could have aces, kings, or he could have a draw, but I got to make him pay and get him out. I don't want him to see all 5 cards. If I got queens, let's say, I can't check it. Trapping, you don't trap that. That's not a trap hand. Trap hands is a set of aces, a straight or flush, a full house on the flop. You don't trap a pair of aces or a pair of queens, you make the bet and you hope they go out. Or if they call, you hope they have tens or jacks where they're going to call you down. But it's always the re-raise that you have to ask why. Is this a guy who normally re-raises me? He's re-raised other people. Does he have the hand? Is he check? How good? And also, the hand can't be that good if he's re-raising you because early on the river, yes, but let's say on the turn, he re-raises you. Probably doesn't have that big of a hand. He's trying to either get you out so you don't see the river, or he doesn't have much. And again, it depends how you're betting. So if you're betting a lot, it's not a bluff at all. It never is. On the river, when the guy does the check, what a tell that is. Okay, I'll check. Gee, I wonder if you have a hand checking like that. So that's where you can read some body language when it's obvious the guy missed the hand, unless he's smart enough to do that on purpose, as I would do. Oh, fuck, I missed. Yeah, I got a full house. Yeah, I just, I was thinking about something else when I did that. And that's really how you kill it. But that's poker. So the most of it is people overplay their aces or their, flopped pair of aces, kings, or queens. I got aces with a 7-9-5, and here's the guy, and he's calling me, and I'm checking to him. I'm setting a trap. You have no idea to set a trap. You have no idea what he has, and if he hits his card because he's going to see 5 of them, you're fucked. So you cannot. You got to protect it. You protect your big hands early, unless it's a monster, full house, 4 of a kind. Okay, you hit the nut flush, then I check it. Anything else, I got to bet the flop because I'm fine. Let him go out, and I win some money on the pre-flop, and that's it. Better than losing on it by letting him catch all 5 cards. Anyway, that's it. John C., what is stupid, laugh fella? You have a good day on Valentine's Day. Any nice dinner? It was a good day, but we didn't have dinner. She had to be home. I think we're going to try to get, I don't know, we'll probably just turn it into a lunch. We'll probably go to barbecue on Monday or Tuesday. But that's it. I don't know what stupid laugh out loud is, but anyway, you got to set it. Daria worked on Valentine's Day yesterday. That was her texting me now. So I, with Daria, you get text when she can text you. And so you don't really, that's why I take the text, because I'll text her at 4:00. She's sleeping already. So that's what happened. So it was a decent, but it's another Saturday. Again, football, the ratings were terrible. This basketball, this whole thing with these players sitting out is ridiculous. Football seems to be the one they actually tried, because you get beaten up pretty good in football. So if you want to play it, you got to enjoy it. I don't think people play football that don't enjoy it. Basketball, a lot of these guys are there for the money. It's a shame. And baseball, again, the Tigers, okay, I wouldn't play Scooble because I don't want to get him hurt, because I got to trade him because they're not going to pay him. And for him to ask for 10-year contract, I think that's bullshit. He's 32. He ain't getting 10. He ain't pitching until he's 42. So I don't know where this guy thinks he's going to get a 10-year contract. I would offer him a 2-year contract, $20 million with incentives. You win so many games, you get a bonus. You actually pitch more than 6 innings, you get a complete games, you get a bonus. Anytime you come out of the game after 6 innings because you're a crybaby, you lose money. We're going to take money from you. And that's how I would do it. It would be on performance, not just here's the salary. Fuck it. Everything's changing. I'd change that. I'll give you a 2-year, 20 million guaranteed. And, and that's it. And then, okay, you win 20 games, you get this, you strike out 300 batters, you get this, you stay, you pitch 9 innings games, not the 6-inning crap. You get a bonus. You want to come out early and go cry like a baby? That's fine. Go ahead. Be my guest, and I'm not paying you for that. Do I even want a pitcher that won't pitch more than 6 innings in a elimination game in a playoff? No, not at all. He's not a winner. Oh, he's the Cy Young Award winner. He beat out whom? The one guy in the Yankees. Max, I want to say Max Crosby, but I know that isn't it. So it's very slim pickings. Plus, he's pitching against the division of the AFC Central. You got Cleveland with no hitters, 2 hitters over 200. Minnesota can't hit. The White Sox can't hit. And Kansas City can't hit. So he plays them like 15 times a year. That's 60 games. He's got pitching against minor leaguers. Oh, he's the bullpen. He's the ace. What did he do in the playoffs against Seattle? He didn't show up, did he? Didn't win a game. And then he leaves after 6 innings. That's what you're paying him for, is the playoffs. To have a 9 innings in a playoff game. You're the best pitcher, prove it. You're pitching good against Seattle, and then you run away and you leave. You don't show up. You quit after 6. I don't want a quitter on my team. This is baseball. Same thing as poker. You can't quit. So again, Skubal, I would just sit on the bench because I don't want to get him hurt, and I want to trade him because he doesn't want to be here and he's not a winner. So I just put him on the bench. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to win anyway. I don't have an offense. You've just brought me Framber Valdez, who's 33 years old, who was 13-11 last year, and Verlander, who's 43 years old. And you think these are good pitchers? Okay, good luck with that. You got your guys that you keep drafting that suck, Casey Mize and these other guys. Milton and who's the other guy? Flanagan. Just ridiculous pitchers. They don't show up in the playoffs. They only go 5-6 innings. The whole, and then what I hate is when people say, well, it's changed. It's different now. No, it doesn't. It didn't change. It hasn't changed. It's still, you go out and pitch. You should pitch 9 innings. You should pitch every 4th day, not every 5th day. All these injuries because you're throwing too hard. Don't throw too hard. Throw in your rhythm. If you throw 94 miles an hour, it's fine. As long as you change your speeds and location, they can't hit you. Everybody can hit 97, 98 mile an hour pitches. Not like you can't hit them. So that's my point. It's, too many injuries, but the game hasn't changed. It's still 60 feet, 6 inches. You throw the ball. And to tell me, well, these guys only go 5 innings, so they couldn't pitch 300 innings, just bullshit. Sorry, you're fucking clueless. He could pitch. You choose not to pitch him. You're worried about him getting hurt, which they all get hurt anyway. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. My guy's I'm going to have a 4-man rotation, just like we did in the 60s and the 70s. And if you don't like it, fuck off. Go work at the grocery store if you don't like it. Farmer Jack's, it's not there anymore, but go work there. Go work at Kroger's. I mean, you're professional athletes. I watch football, right? Now they're playing 17 games. Don't tell me you can't pitch every fourth day and throw 130 pitches. Nolan Ryan didn't seem to have a problem with it. So I don't get that. And one other thing, I was listening, talking about Jared Goff. We know he's a choker. He's never won a big game. LA let him go because he's never won a big game. Sean McVay is smart enough, as we all know and respect him, between Goff and Stafford to choose the better quarterback. He chose Stafford. Don't tell me Goff's any good. He doesn't show up in the big game. Way too many interceptions. He gets too nervous. You get him off your spot. He's good when they can run the ball against the weak defenses, and then he does his little play action, or he hits St. Thomas on these crossing patterns because the defenses are not smart enough to keep a safety and watching him cut across the middle, cut in front of it. Mike Wagner of the Steelers did that against Dallas, right? Remember that Super Bowl? He said that formation he was going to cut, and he jumped the route and intercepted the ball. Super Bowl 10, I believe. So don't tell me your safeties are too stupid to do that. I find the defensive coordinators are terrible. Every offense is the same in that. Now, did Seattle win with Darnold the same as Baltimore won with Tampa won with Trent Dilfer and Baltimore won with Flacco? They didn't win because of them. Baltimore won because of their defense, as did Tampa. Seattle also. So teams win because of their defense. Only it takes a Tom Brady, a Mahomes, a Joe Montana to be the reason you won. They were the reasons you won. Is you won because of Mahomes, you won because of Brady, you won because of Montana. That's why you won. These other ones you won because of the defense. Seattle won because of their defense, and Kenneth Walker, MSU. Okay, that's why they won. It had nothing to do with Darnold. Drake May, again, he's just filling in. He didn't win a game. He cost them the game, but their defense didn't show up. They couldn't tackle Walker, bad defensive coordinator. And then you had not much offense from New England. They couldn't run the ball. You had a few lucky passes at the end when they're playing prevent. So keep that in mind. That's exactly what you do. But Jared Goff, he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. He's not good. You can pretend he's good and say, look at his, passer rating, and say how good it was, but not the QB rating. I heard that yesterday. I almost drove off the road. Just look at him in big games. He chokes. Forget all the stats. What did he do against Pittsburgh in a must-win game? He didn't show up. What did he do against Minnesota? Without a quarterback, with Brosmer, he didn't show up. I don't give a fuck what his ratings are. Look at him in a big game. He doesn't show up. The second half of the Niner game. Washington, you're having Williams throw passes. What happened to Goff? Why isn't he throwing the pass? Oh, we're running a trick play. Yeah, that worked real well. Caleb, if the Bears win a Super Bowl, it's not because of Caleb. Most of their games they win, it's not because of Caleb. A lot of the running and then a lot of the play calling by Johnson. The Lions, now they lost Johnson. They got Campbell soup. Campbell ain't good. All right. Campbell doesn't know what he's doing. The GM doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying to build it on, let me get a running back and a receiver, and I won't have backup for that. And then he doesn't have a defensive line. You don't need an edge rusher. Everybody thinks we need another edge rusher. You don't. You could draft Reuben Bain. Joe Green was a pretty good defensive tackle pass rusher. Let's not forget. You don't need it. And Reuben Bain won it. So if I'm the Lions, I trade Goff and I trade my only asset, which is Hutchinson, he's injured. He broke his leg. He's done. He's toast. Goff can't do it. He's tried. Not very good. I would trade them for draft picks, and then I would go feeding frenzy of the Miami and Texas Tech defensive players, as many of them as I could get, starting with Reuben Bain with the 1 pick. I'll trade for the Raiders and give them Goff, and then take Reuben Bain, Texas Tech defensive players, Ohio State's linebackers, and then I have a defense. Then I can plug in anybody at quarterback. Quarterback's not the key position, especially on this Lion team. Now, the Lions need a whole offensive line. They need their receivers and that. They need, a quarterback who won't choke. Not a mobile one. It doesn't have to be a runner. I would go after the guy from Utah or Daggio. I'd go Daggio Pava or the guy in Utah, which I'm having a mind blank on. Who's the guy from Utah? Devin Dampier. I would go after Devin Dampier. He can run a little bit, great passer. I thought the A&M guy was going to be good. He's not. But that's who I would. And then you got this idiot, Trinidad and Tobago, going to play his 18th year at Mississippi. Excuse me, it's 4 years. You're only eligible for 4 years. What is he playing 7 years for? Well, he was injured. Oh, okay. Still, that's eligibility. You play for 4 years. You get injured. What did he get injured in the first game of his first 5 years? But anyway, he won't be any good. There's too much of this running quarterback like the guy from A&M. And then when they get tight and he has to throw to win, he threw 2 interceptions against Texas. Son of a bitch, cost me. But that's what you – so there's no real good quarterbacks coming out because there are all these running quarterbacks who aren't – you need a thrower. You need a Mahomes and a Burrow. You don't live with Lamar and Jalen Hurts. That's not what you live with. So anyway, be careful with that. But that's what I would do if I'm the Lions GM. I'm trading Goff. I'm not going to win with him. I'm getting rid of Hutchinson. He's damaged goods. Probably get rid of Williams, the wide receiver, and keep St. Thomas and keep my running back and just see what happens. My safeties are gone. My secondary sucks. And I got to rebuild a defensive and offensive line. So I'm going to start with free agency and drafting all the Miami, Texas Tech defensive players, and then I'll be fine with the cheap salary. I need a quarterback who's not going to cost me $50 million, who's worth $5 million. So I got to get rid of Goff. He's too expensive. Terrible move signing him. What a joke that was. So I got Dago Pava would be perfect, or Dampier at Utah. Those are probably the best two. And I'd go from there, and then I'd rebuild. You don't need those running backs to win, and St. Thomas is okay, but that's not the key. As Seattle showed you, is the defense. Smith and Jimba did nothing in the Super Bowl. Kenneth Walker did. So you need a runner, you need a good offensive line for the runner, and then you need a good defense to shut down the other team. And guess what? If they don't score, we win. No matter how bad our quarterback is at throwing interception. They made Sam Darnold the winner because they had a great defense and a running attack. And that's the key to it. So that's what I would do. So again, we touch poker, gold and silver. Look for it. To be careful with this week with the Chinese New Year if they're going to trade, because that's a holiday there. So they're going to trade. Like here in the U.S., it's New Year's Day is the holiday. Not for a whole week, but in China, it's the year of the tiger or the year of the boar. Or when I'm at the Chinese restaurant going, what? Oh, I'm the year of the boar or whatever it is. So that's what you really look at. So we'll be okay in physical gold and silver. Please do not worry about it. Very highly demanded, very low supply. All right. Well, have a good day. I'm off for some lunch in the pool, and that's about it. No sports. I'll watch some World Series of Poker, which is now on you. It's never been on. All of a sudden, I'm getting flooded with all these years, and I'm just watching the final table because I don't know who won half of them. Like after maybe 2014 or 2015, I don't know who won. Like some of them, I can. Oh, that guy won. Yeah, as soon as I see near the end. And all it is the guys get hot. They catch aces and king. They hit the set. The other guy misses the flop. They're really not that good. They're just lucky to have hit their flop because they have to go all in because they're blinded out. And then they get on a hot streak. Like Joe Hassan. He's not that good, but he got hot at the right time. And that's it. And then their last question is, did they let Moneymaker win? Because it created this boom in poker. And I'm sure you could have paid Sammy Farrar off to lose. So I definitely think they let him win. You want to talk fixed? Moneymaker winning is fixed because he's not that good. He's never won anything else. If you see him on these other shows, he's terrible. He got lucky. That's it. He got lucky. And, but then all these other people came in, and now you got 8,000 people at the main event at 10,000 apiece. And then you can see follow the money. So I do think Moneymaker, it was fixed. That one. That was a New York Jet Baltimore moment where they let the Jets win to say, hey, look at the sport. All right. Have a good day. www.teaserking.com. Happy Valentine's Day from yesterday. Enjoy your friends and your family. Respect and treat them nice. Be nice. All right. Take care, everybody. www.teaserking.com.